Not exactly our finest hour, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Millionth show. My name is, as always, James. His name is, as always, Henry. And his name is, as always, Tom. And today we are talking about GoldenEye, released in 1995, directed by Martin Campbell and starring Pierce Brosnan as Bond. Just Pierce Brosnan. Pun on the fact he's Irish. So, I think I'd like to lead off in terms of my relationship with this Bond film because I have quite a I've had quite a journey with this film, and this was my favorite. I mean, and Tom, I'm sure will correct me if I misremember, but this was my favorite Bond film. I think until Skyfall came out, pretty much. I feel I loved this film when I was a kid. This is seriously like I just absolutely thought it was just the peak of entertainment. And the more time has gone on, the less I like it, the less I like all Pierce Brosnan Bond films, apart from Die Another Day. But yeah, GoldenEye is one which is, like I said, I come into this recording with probably a bit of a downer on it, but there are definitely elements which are always enjoyable, and I think it's always good to focus on them because I think this is pretty much universally quite a well-liked Bond film, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me at least, like, I've always found this film kind of funny because it's like, I remember my first experience of it wasn't, before I watched it, was you, like, basically doing, like, an Alan Partridge describing the whole film. Especially the bit with, like, Boris at the end. Like, he always just goes, like, I'm invincible, which is, like,
okay,
always kind of funny. But, I think I must have only seen this, like, maximum 3 times in my life.
really?
Yeah, not because I didn't like it. It's just I never kind of got around to seeing it much.
I've seen this probably about 15, 20 times. I couldn't even count, man. I saw this a lot when I was a kid. I loved it.
This to me is like, I mean, I don't feel in a particularly like this has never been like one of my favorites. I think it's very good overall, especially because of the actual like Bond villain himself.
Really?
Yeah, because of it's not just the fact that spoiler alert, it's 006. Sean Bean dies in his own film.
Yeah.
It's the fact that like they put that to good use. Like he's like, oh, he knows like is it still this button to do this with cues like watch?
Like
a lot of other things. Like they can play with a lot there. I do kind of find it funny how, like, despite the fact that the USSR had fallen by this point, they still had to like bring a bit in about like going into the Soviet Union. Then they're like, all right, guys, it's 9 years later.
Well, big time. This whole film is like this is basically the first Bond film that's like primarily set in Russia, right? I mean, presumably because they could only film it in there until now, but
Yeah. I think my biggest criticism of this film has to be the soundtrack, because
the soundtrack is awful, man.
There are some points where it's good, but there are a lot of points where it's terrible.
There's some really cool sound design when it comes to like more of the like technology bits. I'm thinking when the Russian guy whose name I always forget,
Arumov,
and Xenia, when they walk in and they're like activating the GoldenEye, the GoldenEye has kind of got its own little theme, which is really cool. It's like it's like a humming sort of. I think you know the one I'm on about, right?
Yeah. It sounds like almost.
Yeah, I agree. The soundtrack is trash. The writing, I think, is also the biggest weakness in this film. The writing is really, really poor.
You mean as in like the dialogue, or like the way?
Yeah, just the lines that pretty much all of them are given. I find them almost like parody, or bordering on parody. It's just like really cringe, really. I mean, it's just 90s, I guess. It's 90s Bond, and none of the dialogue has aged well. There's nothing quotable about any of these films, really.
It's funny as well because like Pierce Brosnan really suffered in the fact that I think apart from this film, every other film in the same year an Austin Powers film came out. Like, so
I was looking at what other films came out this year. Well, in '95, Shawshank Redemption was one, so that was interesting to see. I always like having sort of not benchmark, but I like seeing what films came out around the same time, just to kind of get an idea of what was happening. For some reason, I mean, it wasn't. When I watch Bond films, I always think about what might have influenced it. And with GoldenEye, it feels pretty. I mean, it was obviously influenced by a lot of previous Bond films. They're like really obvious nods
Oh yeah,
to
of course.
You Only Live Twice and On Her Majesty's Secret Service, for example. But I couldn't really think of like a mainstream film that this really drew from. I felt like a little bit of maybe Terminator 2 vibes in some ways. I don't know why. But other than that, yeah, it felt maybe that's why I quite liked it as a kid as well. It's just like it felt quite
Yeah.
fresh and it has quite. I mean, the plot isn't very good either, but the whole
plot's all-
006.
the plot for the 90s is all right. Like it's just because like you know, especially in that era, that was the era of like every film was an explanation of what an EMP is. But this is like this was one of the first, so it was like it didn't matter that much.
One thing this film really succeeded in was actually. I mean, obviously it's dated because of the technology in it, but they were really like ahead of their time in terms of like the internet and stuff like that. I mean, in '95, like Boris is like talking about, he name drops the internet, which is like, I don't know, like I think that's maybe the earliest film I've seen which makes reference to the internet. Unless I can't really think of any others. I think because people. Well, I mean, it's a bit creators of films and studios. They're always a bit wary to date their films.
Yeah.
And Bond did a very brave, and Bond's always trying to be a step ahead of the ahead of the curve, right?
Oh, of course.
So I think it's pretty cool to see that they actually were in this event. In '95 they weren't afraid to go like, yeah, this guy's like an internet computer hacker kind of guy, and that's actually aged really well in a way.
Yeah. I mean, how do you feel about it, Tom? Like, I've never really asked you about this.
Well, I mean, it doesn't exactly crop up much, but I remember James hyping up the film a lot because he got to see it. So like, and growing up, there was a period where like, because we weren't allowed to see like 12s until we were actually 12 and all that.
Yeah,
And
they actually, we were one of the only people whose parents
Literally-
followed, the guidelines on those.
literally the only one, pretty much. Never heard anybody doing that. But like, I thought for the longest time because we all saw the ones up to Living Daylight. So I thought like, yeah, I can't wait till we get 12. Like all these films are going to be so like much better because like almost as if it was like unlockable bit of a game, which is like much better. And it's like this was like a film series version of that. What I thought anyway. Even so, like by that logic, License to Kill is the best one ever. Which
well, it's up there. So
yeah, I was really hard on this film when I first watched it. Like I was like, wow, is this what's so great? Like when I heard all the really cringy music and stuff, like
well, even how old were you when you first saw this? You saw us when you were 12.
yeah,
But
and
you
so
didn't hate
like
the music then. Wow.
yeah, I mean it was cringy, like, and I think much like Spy Love Me and Fear Eyes Only, it had really dated music. So like, but in a different way, it was like 90s like rubbish. So like this film, like I think it has some good bits, but it's never been like, and I've actually liked it a little bit more over time, but like it's not like in the stratosphere for me.
Yeah, it's not like a Skyfall tier of Bond film,
Oh, certainly not. I think this is more. I mean, obviously we'll rank it at the end of the episode, but it's interesting what they try and do. I think, like I said, my main two criticisms are literally just the writing and the music, which are things I didn't pay attention to too much when I was younger, obviously. But a few things that this is really fantastic for. I think the cinematography is excellent. The action, like they finally worked out how to choreograph fights.
Yeah.
And I think that really improves Bond films a lot because fundamentally Bond films are action films, right? So, well, they are now. So, I mean, probably before Timothy Dalton, they were more adventure primarily, I would say, and then since then they've become more action based, which is good, and something it's pretty strong at. I think it's not something I mean, the fights are really good in this because I always kind of associate that improvement with Casino Royale because obviously that was influenced by Jason Bourne, the Bourne Identity, which has amazing fucking fight choreographed.
Interesting
But-
you bring that up, actually.
Yeah, but Pierce Brosnan, I think the fighting in this is especially 006 and 007 at the end. I mean,
Yeah, that's fantastic.
it's still like it's hardly John Wick stuff, but it's still like it still holds up, for the time. It's a lot better than the fights we've seen with, like Roger Moore and Sean Connery, that's for sure. So
I actually
Yeah.
actually disagree technically there because the thing is that one of the gripes I have with Pierce Brosnan is that like he's not very believable in like fight scenes and stuff. Like he looks like the thing is with George Lazenby and Sean Connery is they were very, very believable in their fights. Like even though the choreograph think of like Red Grant and stuff. Like,
Yeah, that is a great example, to be fair.
and
I don't
this-
really
Pierce
agree,
Bros-
man.
Pierce Brosnan's like very well groomed, but like
Yeah,
for fighting, it's like nah. Like I believe Daniel Craig a lot more. I believe Sean Connery a lot more, and George Lazenby a lot more. Like, I just the choreography I was done because I think it had to be done. Like they couldn't like
yeah, that's true.
they couldn't like Pierce Brosnan wasn't like they had to do what they could to like make it as believable as possible.
Well,
That's just why.
And I think that brings us neatly onto Pierce Brosnan himself,
Yeah.
because he's such a interesting kind of
Should we
Bond
get- should
actor.
we
I mean,
talk about
obviously,
him specifically when it comes to ranking him.
Sorry.
Should we talk about him specifically when it comes to ranking him? I think it would be good.
Well,
to
I
say.
just wanted to talk about him generally, but obviously we'll kind of have this
Yeah.
conversation again at the end. But I just wanted to, since it's the first Pierce Brosnan film we're reviewing, he's probably the most. I mean, at the time of his casting, the most famous actor that ever got cast as Bond. Other than him, I think everyone was pretty much on. Pierce Brosnan's stock was quite high when they cast him, so it was kind of like something that everyone saw coming. I think, and people,
Yeah,
I think, had
they'd want
quite
to-
high expectations for him as well. And what I will say for Pierce Brosnan is that if an alien came to the planet and asked me, "Oh, who's James Bond?" I would probably show them a picture of Pierce Brosnan. For me,
Yeah.
he's very. I mean, let's be real. He's he's a pretty good-looking guy in my opinion. He's like you said, he's well groomed. I like his. I mean, physically, he is Bond for me.
Yeah, he's like. I imagine
he
like
ticks all the boxes, really.
it's like someone put like Sean Connery and like Roger Moore and like some sort of like combiner, and then out came like
Yeah.
Pierce Brosnan. Like that's how I feel about it, honestly.
Now, I'm glad you said that because the other thing is the fact that the thing that Pierce Brosnan's Bond suffers from is that I feel like the creators were trying to kind of mash together Sean Connery and Roger Moore, like try and marry those two into one kind of character, and that's where these films suffer because
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I don't
don't,
think
and I
it's-
can't really tell if Pierce Brosnan would be better as a serious Bond or as a funny Bond because
Yeah, well,
he's basically forced to do
you can
both.
watch the Fourth Protocol to find out.
Well, I don't know, but he's I don't know. I think he had a lot of expectation on him, and he tried to. And I don't think he's a bad Bond by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he had quite a hard job to do when you think about it. And this is why you should never. This is why whoever the next Bond is going to be, we don't know at the time of recording. It's important that they don't cast someone famous like Tom Hardy or something, because
Yeah,
everyone will
they
go
should.
in. Everyone will go in with their expectations and like, and I think that's always a bit unfair. It's always better if there's an unknown, or sort of like a B-list guy. As much as I would like to see Robert Pattinson or someone like that. But yeah, do we have any more thoughts, or should we get into the?
I think the saddest part about this film is the fact that, I mean, they had always like similar to Timothy Dalton. They had always been like looking out for Roger Moore to not Roger Moore, Pierce Brosnan to cast him as Bond,
Yeah.
and his wife it had always been like her dream to see him play James Bond, but she died 8 years before this actually came out. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, that's
quite
okay.
His wife was playing Countess Liesel from Fear Eyes Only.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember. Yeah.
nice bit of trivia there.
Well, let's get into it then, shall we? So, we open up with the gun barrel sequence, and now Henry has actually psyoped me into paying attention to them.
Yeah,
I really-
it's very different. Yeah,
I like this one, man. It's like very like blood red, man. You can also see instantly with this film the technology developments that have happened in Hollywood in general.
And
and
6 years between.
now you have more. I mean, I feel like before now the gun barrel was like very
static.
no what's the opposite of digital? Analog. It was very it was filmed in a very analog way, whereas now it feels like okay they've actually blended in a bit of technology in not CGI, but it just feels a bit more like modern, and
Yeah,
and that's cool. I think that's a really good thing. I love like it was really because the blood was like really blood red and fluid,
Yeah.
and I don't know, it was very cool.
I think it was a very good modernization of the gun barrel itself, the look of it. It's I think it like struck the perfect balance.
Yeah.
I think
yeah, very strong.
it's like they were like they were tweaking it a bit, but they weren't like straight up fucking around with it like they did in some later Daniel Craig film.
Yeah. Okay, and then we open up with a very
Good
very
stuff.
spectacular way to introduce your new Bond actor.
Hmm.
Because it's funny, and now that I'm thinking about it, it is shades of the Living Daylights, isn't it?
Yeah, I really I think I would appreciate the way that they introduced Timothy Dalton's Bond because like previously, obviously Sean Connery had very cool when he's playing cards,
Yeah.
but with George Lazenby, I mean, I guess he had a fight, but then also like the first shot is just like from
Well,
like
what I like here
POV.
is how they actually obscure his face for the first few minutes, so it's kind of like I think that must have been really great to watch as like an
Yeah.
audience member in the cinema at the time, where you're like, oh, you're trying to
Yeah.
see his face, and you can't quite see it, and you get a real close up of his eyes as well, and I think that's great.
Yeah, and then obviously, I mean, Roger Moore's. I mean, it feels like I always bash him, but like his introduction it's quite for him it
No,
works.
his
But it's
introduction
quite
is terrible. I think.
well, at
He's-
least it's
I
quite
think-
comedic. But
I think
it's
he's got the
still,
worst.
like,
Actually, can we just do this very quickly? I mean, it's not part of our official rankings, but can we like rank right now the introductions for Bond actors? Because
yeah.
I think in my book, even though my favorite two Bonds are Roger Moore and Daniel Craig, I think they actually have the worst introductions of the six. I
You don't
think
like Daniel Craig's introduction in Casino Royale?
no, I don't at all. It's weird and confusing. It's like black and white, and it's like some prequel thing. I just don't like it. It never sat well with me. I mean, we'll talk about Casino Royale when we get there. But because I'm thinking maybe George Lazenby's my favorite introduction,
your
or maybe
favourite?
Sean Connery. I don't know.
I think
Maybe it has
Sean
to be
Connery.
Sean Connery. It
I
has
think
to be,
Sean
doesn't
Connery
It would have to
easily.
be to me it'd be Sean Connery. I think Timothy Dalton's. I mean, obviously,
it? Timothy Dalton's is great.
it is. I mean, because
Yeah.
this is like a whole
This is
like.
great.
I
Yeah.
think that's number 2.
But George Lazenby's is very good as well.
George
I think
Lazenby's is actually
Yeah.
very good.
I like
The
it when
only
he's
thing I
lighting
don't
the
like is-
cigarette and you see his like dimple chin and the music. I think that has to be
Oh
number
yeah, that
two.
is
Number
the music
two,
to be
really
honest.
estimates it.
I would put Sean Connery, then George Lazenby, then Timothy Dalton, then probably Pierce Brosnan, then Daniel Craig, then Roger Moore. Roger Moore doesn't even feature
I
in the
think-
beginning
doing
of this
anything
I
film.
think-
which is a shame.
I think the reason they did that with Roger Moore is because they had like this really on and off period where like we didn't know who was going to be
Yeah.
the next.
It was up in the
Bond.
air, wasn't it?
Yeah,
So they just like he's sleeping.
And they made up for it in his later
Yeah.
intro. So that's
yeah,
good.
they certainly did for his openings.
But anyway, so we have this spectacular jump from this massive dam, which is cool in Soviet Russia. Soviet Russia, maybe I should say. And they break in. He breaks into this chemical development plant, whatever.
Yeah,
Now, unfortunately, like as I've gotten older and stuff, I do kind of start thinking a lot about why they didn't just bomb the whole place from a plane instead of like this elaborate kind of sabotage thing. But anyway,
well, I mean, to be fair, if like a British plane just straight up flew over and bombed it,
it doesn't
I
have to be
think-
British. It could just be like launch a missile or whatever. I don't know. I'm sure
Yeah,
there was a
but
better way
that
of
would
doing it.
That'd be like an
probably
act of war.
Yeah, that would start World War 3.
And I don't really think they needed two agents on this, but obviously for the sake of the plot, you need them. So anyway, Bond 006, 007 goes in. He's like, "Oh yeah, pardon, I forgot to knock." I hate that line. I think that's just like
Where he-
terrible one
yeah,
line.
He meets the guy. The first time you see him is like upside down in like a cubicle.
I was really confused. I thought his first line was "filthy habit." Which film does he say that in then?
That's in Tomorrow Never
I don't know,
Dies.
no.
That's
Oh, I
when
was
he's
expecting him to say it here somewhere. I was like, "Where's the Russian smoking?" I was looking for that,
Yeah.
and then it didn't happen. I was like, "Oh, okay." So anyway, he like breaks into this guy's toilet, and then bumps into 006 as you do. So now, I mean, Sean Bean. Let's talk about Sean Bean a little
Can I
bit.
just say the way that he first sees him is like confusing because he obviously knows who he is and he starts like barking at him in like I assume like
Yeah.
George Russian. And it's like he's right in front of you. You don't have to like
I think
I
he's
guess-
just trying to like show 007 that he can like sneak up on him or something, like
Maybe.
it's almost a little bit like, oh, I'm better than you, because he does
Yeah,
think that,
I
doesn't
guess
he?
it's also for the audience too.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. I think he does actually a great job as like because you've had previous 00 agents in Bond films and you never really felt like kind of they're like Bond's peer even because
Yeah.
Only Red Grant, I would say. Only Red Grant is the true like toe to toe like Bond equivalent sort of thing.
yeah,
Like
but in
really,
terms
when you really boil it down, and maybe Necros to an extent, but
yeah,
What about
Necros is like
Scaramanga?
very
no,
like a
Scaramanga's different. I couldn't see him in a fist fight with Bond, especially Roger Moore's Bond.
I think yeah, it's all right introduction, but one thing with this intro that is like that always cringed from the first time I saw it was like later when they go into the thing, it's like half of everything is like James, and there's like the other half
Oh, I
Faye,
hate it.
and then the music.
So
like,
cringe. Oh, I hate how all of their dialogue is just makes my skin crawl, man. Oh, for England, James. For England, Alec. Oh, just makes me want to throw up, man.
I think the for England bit isn't that bad. I think it's like
It's all right. I like that they say England and not like Britain, but
yeah
that's
for England like it's kind of like half sarcastic, half not.
yeah, that's true. It is a bit tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
But I still think it's like I don't know. It doesn't age well. It's not very like, and it's not a fault of the actors. Again, I just solely
Exactly.
blame
It's
the
just
right.
like
I solely blame the writers. The writers for this film are just like really let us down, I think. But anyway, so they go in. They start planting some bombs, some mines, limpets, perhaps actually.
yeah.
What are they technically? Limpets are underwater, aren't they? So
Yeah, these are
stick
just
it.
like sticky bombs.
yeah.
Yeah.
Easy to set up. Just push one button and you're set for life.
Yeah, they are pretty cool bombs as well, I must
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then the Russians catch wind of that this is going down, so they come in because obviously we don't know this, but they've been tipped off. So they go and while Bond is like, oh yeah, closing time, last orders.
Oh yeah, buy me a pint.
Or make mine a Guinness. And then all of a sudden 006 is in execution position,
Yeah.
and does actually get shot in the
I
head.
actually I
So
actually quite like that bit. The fact that it's like
yeah,
006 is covering for him and then like you don't see it happen, but like suddenly you like while Bond is setting up the bomb, like
yeah, it goes
all the
quiet,
shooting
doesn't it?
stops and then he's like, oh yeah, you're
Yeah.
still there.
That's a
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's a good moment.
It's
Like,
very cool because this is a situation we've never seen Bond in before, where he's like,
At the
I mean, yeah,
tail.
we've seen him like team up with, but it's always like the female lead, and it's it's a bit of a different dynamic. Whereas in this case, it really is like two sort of colleagues, effectively, and it's not Felix Leiter. It's like these two guys really know their shit, and I really like seeing that. I also love seeing 007 with an AK-47. I think that's just like, why haven't we seen that before, man?
This is a far cry from in the previous film in the opening sequence.
Yeah.
Like 61-year-old Felix Leiter, with a
Yeah,
like a
well, yeah,
rifle.
exactly.
I think like what I like about 006 is that they actually establish that there's some competency within like the other 00s, because every time you hear about them before, it's just like, oh yeah, 009 got killed, or 00 whatever got killed doing this, and it's like, oh, is like it kind of leads on. I don't know. It leads me to believe like almost like they're like not even half his like competency or whatever. But
Mm.
once one is
Well,
sent
I'd
along
say
with
other
him,
than 00, was it 008 in Octopussy?
009, I think.
009 gets killed.
Yeah, but I think he kind of like, I mean, yeah, he gets killed, but
He does it. Yeah, he's like
He did
He's
something.
doing his best job. I mean, he manages to get all the way to like the embassy from like this place.
it would be, it's a shame that they've kind of never explored that. I mean, this is something that maybe could happen in like today's, but if you had some kind of spin-off Amazon, 8-episode like series about 003 or something, I think that'd be quite cool. Don't you think? Like Universal sort of world building of like, I think that'd be a pretty cool like world building exercise for like, and then they could experiment with like whatever they like. That's a great idea. I should pitch that to Broccoli. But anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm
I mean,
trademarking that for anyone. I'm going to file a patent, so don't steal my idea.
Bond is always like I mean, especially in the Pierce Brosnan era, they've always that's when they started like thinking, oh yeah, we're going to do spin-off series of these characters, and then it never happened.
Really,
Yeah.
I think
So
they.
it's stuck
I
on the
think
plate
that. I mean, in today's climate with Netflix, I think this would be a perfect opportunity for them to try something like that. But like, by all means, have like they're doing with the Batman. They have the Batman, then they have this Penguin HBO series they're doing. I think that would really work for Bond. And then you still have like M popping up in the odd episode or something. I think that'd be really cool.
Maybe.
Just world building. I think that'd be great. But anyway,
I think like
back to GoldenEye
yeah.
with one character I really like in this film is actually Arumanov. Is that how you say it? Arumov?
Arumov.
Arumov, sorry.
Arumov, yeah. I
Yeah.
think he's
I
a
can
bit.
never remember his name, but I think he's great. I really like the bit when Bond is trying to escape behind the drums, and it's like the squeaky wheel. I love that.
Yeah,
And then
it's like,
he tells them not to fire so they don't cause an explosion. And then one of the guys sort of like just trembles and just loses
he's
his
really
nerve.
sweating.
And then Ruminov shoots him. I think that's a great bit of villain sort of.
Yeah, it's just like
I think that's great.
it's like such a I don't know. It's like a small thing that says a lot.
Definitely.
I mean, it's not really a small thing to kill someone, but still, it's
Yeah.
kind of like I really like that bit where like he's like going behind, he's using these as a shield basically, because it's like it's dead silence and like
Yes.
it's really serious, but at the same time it's actually quite funny. Just the
Oh, it's
fact that
perfect. It's perfect.
it's like
Yeah, I love
like and even Oromov, he's just like kind of like
Yeah.
It's
you know,
quite
he's like wondering
interesting.
what's your plan here, like.
It's quite interesting, like how you interpret the moment where he shoots his own like soldier. Because I always thought that was like, oh yeah, he's Russian, he's like brutal to the bone or something, and so he's like,
Well,
yeah,
there
he
is a bit of that as
do
well, I
that.
think.
And like, yeah, that's how I always saw it. But for Arumov, yeah, he does do a bit of a different take because like we've had like Orlov, who's like
Yeah.
absolutely like off his meds basically,
Yeah.
and then this one seems like very cold and like
Exactly. Like pathological. I think
level
he's a
head.
very intriguing, and he's he plays it well, the actor for it. I think and I think hang on, let me just fact
Oh
check.
yeah, we had
Yeah.
Koskov as well.
Yeah.
This guy, the actor's actually a German bloke. So yeah, it's not like an English guy doing a Russian accent, which
Yeah.
is can often. Anyway, so Bond kind of escapes. He does of course set the timer like 3 minutes
Yeah, because
back, which
this
is
is
important
something.
for later on.
That will be important for later on.
Yeah.
Something that I have a massive gripe with, but I mean, we'll get to
Really?
it.
Okay. But anyway, so Bond does that. He escapes. They're all running after him. He's like spots this plane taking off. So he's like, yeah, all right, I'm going to get on that plane. What is cool is that he gets in the plane and then thrown back out and then has to get on a motorcycle and then drive it off the cliff. What I don't understand is why Arumanov says, like, don't shoot. Like, why wouldn't you shoot? It's just giving
Yeah,
Bond
it
a chance
doesn't
to
like.
escape. Like,
And
fuck
even
the
so,
plane, man. Just,
previously, like this does take a lot of the believability out of it. The fact that there are so many guys shooting at Bond, and they never hit him. Like I know, like AKs aren't the most accurate weapons ever, but like, come on.
Yeah, this that took me out of it a little bit,
Like
but nevertheless,
some people
you
say
soon
that.
forget about that because of the very next stunt, which is almost like a remix of the first thing we saw in the film, but like jacked up by 10, which is, and I don't know,
Double stunt.
I kind of guess this is physically possible, but it's
Yeah.
a very very cool stunt, regardless if it's actually
Of
possible.
the
This is
green
like,
screen, yeah.
but I love it. I don't think that was obvious either. I think it worked for me. This
It's not
stunt.
like Doctor No level green screen.
Yeah.
I actually used to have a very generous like interpretation of green screens because like when I was younger I didn't know that like technical thing about green screen. So I thought like when there was a green screen that was really obvious, like that was like the filmmakers trying to like, I don't know, give attention to like this
Okay.
particular moment in the film. And I was like,
Huh.
yeah, so that's really interesting. I wonder why they thought that was important. And it'd be like someone driving or something, and it'd be like,
Yeah, with this, I mean, I think they pretty much nailed all of that kind of thing. Like later on when they're in the plane and stuff, I think it's more or less holds up pretty well.
Yeah,
I mean, I am also quite generous when it comes to that sort of thing, unless it's really obvious. I think in this case, it's all fine, really.
yeah, it's like,
But
I
yeah,
think
Bond
by this
flies
point,
off, and then the plant explodes behind him, which is always a pretty cool.
yeah, not before the plane goes down behind the. I
Oh
love the
yeah,
way they shot this. It goes down. It's like, oh,
yeah,
did he
that's
crash?
great.
And it just goes right back up.
That's great.
And he just does a flyover as it explodes, which is
and what I love is how the explosion transitions into like the
yeah,
credit sequence, which like it goes from like the explosion to like the explosion of the gunpowder in the barrel of a gun. I think
Yeah.
that's so cool.
yeah, as well. Yeah, it's also kind of like the intro gun barrel as well, like the way that it does that. I mean, I think apart from maybe A View to a Kill and like some of the Living Daylights, Bond intros like this have not had very interesting kind of like designs, sort of like because in this one particular, I didn't really care much for GoldenEye, the song by Tina Turner.
I think it's a good song, actually. I quite like
I
it.
like it as well. It's not my favorite. It's not A View
It's not
to
something I
Kill,
listen to,
but I think it is very atmospheric, and
yeah, I'll give you
I think
that.
it's good. I think it's very good. I think it's not top tier, but it's
Yeah, it's
very
like
strong.
it's like if someone made like a song out of like someone sneaking around, kind of.
Yeah, and like I said, this is where Bond credit sequences start getting really creative, and I
Yeah, it's
really
like a lot
enjoyed
of
this.
Lennon
This one in
iconography.
particular is very cool. Apart from one really weird bit where the girl like opens her mouth and a gun comes out. I've never. That's always like a bit
Been
too
a bit weird, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but other
interesting
than that,
they
I think
have
this is
like
very.
the twin faces of the Roman god Janus, which is
Yeah,
important for later.
but I think that's still cool. That's still a
With
bit of
Janus.
foreshadowing and stuff. I think that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of like statues of Lenin falling down and all that, smashing them, which is just a very subtle hint to what occurred in the last few years. So,
And then we get to. I think this is probably this is
the
just
worst part of soundtrack I've heard in the Bond.
not just soundtrack, but I think this kind of sums up everything bad about Pierce Brosnan's Bond. I mean, yeah, the DB5 is cool. It's nice to see that again.
Yeah, and it's actually
But that's where it ends.
That's
Other
good.
than that, this is like the music is like almost unlistenable to.
Because I remember a couple of weeks ago,
I feel like this is how Tom feels when watching the opening for The Spy Love Me.
yeah. 'Cause I came back to watching it. I watched this scene like a couple of weeks ago. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this is cool because the Ferrari spins around a bit, and then I heard the music. I was like, this I can't remember it being this bad. I was like, what the fuck am I listening to?
And you've got this the girl next to him. I forget what her
she's like
psychologist
like,
or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just so obvious, and it's so like on the nose, man.
It is kind of funny, and not that this scene is funny, but it's funny in the way that like Pierce Brosnan's Bond was like the beginning of them actually trying to like be like, Bond, you can't just be sexist all the time, and then like now it's like aged kind of poorly because they did the like, it's like almost just like basically paying lip service rather than actually like, I mean, apart from with the introduction of New End, I guess that's where it kind of
I think overall it's not bad, but I think just this particular scene is very like leaves a bad taste, doesn't it?
Yeah. I enjoy draw out as much the next girl, and then like
that line in particular.
Who's she? The next girl.
What do we think of Xenia on the top?
The thing is, it's like
I mean,
it's
for
kind
me,
of weird. It's like, I mean, I guess this was only happening to Bob, but it is kind of weird to have someone who gets off on like killing people like that.
this
So
is
often.
like they're trying to do Max Zorin again, but like the opposite effects happens where you're just like, oh, okay.
I think
she's getting turned on by like killing.
Yeah, it's like the thing is like if you're watching this, I can't watch this with someone else because then if they haven't
it's
seen
almost
it.
like the equivalent. It's actually almost the equivalent of like Max Zorin if you're like seeing him spraying the people like in the cave.
He's having fun. He's not like
and then you pan down and he's got an erection. It's kind of like the equivalent of that. Like like that's the actual
like you could
exact feeling I get.
It's fair if they want to have like she's like let's show she's psychopath because she's laughing at them, but not like
yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
like,
that was very. I hate that. That's the word. But what I will say is, she's for me, for my money, probably the sexiest Bond girl. Like, there's something about her. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
Pierce
that,
Brosnan.
I would have
Pierce
probably
Brosnan
put
got.
money on that, honestly, to bet. But
Wouldn't?
anyway,
I don't know. I think Pierce Brosnan gets a really, really like nice pick of the bunch in his films. But anyway, that's my opinion.
I think well, I wanted to say, like, I think she was inspired perhaps a bit by Fatima Blush from Never Say Never Again. She had like very similar kind of thing going, I think, but
Yeah.
they went a step further with it, or a couple of steps further with it, and
And
yeah,
tonally, this is a very different film. So
Yeah.
you can get away with it in Never Say Never Again.
yeah,
Whereas
I think
this is
I think that probably the most appropriate thing they ever did with her is the fact that they gave her a Ferrari. That those two just seem to like
Yeah,
go
that's
together
cool.
like
That's
perfectly.
cool. But
Uh,
anyway, it ends with like champagne in the
yeah.
yeah. It's
Oh,
like,
actually, you forget that Bond confronts his greatest nemesis yet: cyclists. So
oh yeah, that I bet that got a cheer in the cinema at the time.
yeah.
yeah, it's just like this is like this set back the cycling community like decades.
I
This
think this is one thing that Pierce Brosnan does really well. Like comedy like that, which is in worlds like real life kind of stuff. There's one in not Skip Head, but in The World Is Not Enough with the guys, the ticket inspectors, and they get a good dousing. You can literally
Oh,
hear
yeah.
the audio. You can hear the applause in the cinema, man. You know.
yeah.
It's,
Well, it's got nothing on John English blowing up a speed camera. But
oh yeah, exactly. But I think this is one of those with the cyclists. It's just like, yeah, everyone loves to see that.
Everyone liked that meme.
Exactly. Anyway, so Bond follows, and this is the other thing. What on earth is Bond doing here as well? Like, surely he can do his driving test in like, a car park in,
yeah.
London
Imagine
somewhere,
like he's just doing this in like the Tesco
on an
car park or
airport
something.
strip in like, Heathrow or something. Or the Heathrow, I don't think was it around back then or not? I don't think so. But anyway, not on the scale it is now. But anyway, he follows her to this casino. Where he kind of formally meets Xenia, and
Yeah, and he's not immediately winning it at a game, so big.
yeah.
But then he
But
does.
what are they playing? Because I don't know if it's a weird accent. I don't. They're not playing poker, but she
They're
said
playing
pucker.
baccarat.
Pucker, yeah. So anyway, um, and yeah, you get this like flirty kind of back and forth, which is a bit cringe, and like the pinnacle of that is when literally jazz music stops and he says Bond, James Bond,
Yeah.
which is just why did they have to do that? Like he's fine. He can say James. You can have some background music. You don't have to literally stop the band
I
and
think
then continue.
Yeah,
as soon
I
as
feel
it's
bad
finished.
for him, man. Like he's
Yeah.
a very good actor.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
really.
think it's really like because they probably like gave into the audience too much because they were expecting like Pierce Brosnan, and it just
Yeah.
aged so poorly, and it's just one of those moments. For me.
Yeah. I mean, like,
And that's why
Yeah.
they went. I think that's kind of. I think this film influenced Casino Royale a lot because they went and got okay, right. Well, they learned from their mistakes, but they went completely the opposite, the other way, right? So they kind of everything you expect. They kind of just Anyway, we'll talk about that when we get to Casino Royale. But yeah.
we'll get to it eventually.
So anyway, and then it turns out. Oh yeah, and he goes, "Oh, I like a girl who pulls rank," and then this like random guy.
Oh yeah, man. They're like literally like it's like the soy in the situation.
Yeah, this guy. This is like the modern equivalent of like your like OnlyFans subscriber man and everything, you know.
Oh well, he's an admiral, and then Bob's like,
Yeah.
oh fuck.
And I think there's not many Bond characters that I loathe more than this guy, man. But anyway, he gets snuffed pretty quickly in a very in a scene you don't want to be watching with your parents.
Yeah, literally, man. Like what's it called? Yeah, Bond is totally not. Yeah, he doesn't think about her at all. He's watching her with like binoculars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Henry, did you watch this with Mum?
Huh?
Did you watch this with Mum?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Now I was thinking about maybe we'll just skip this one honestly. So.
That's I don't know. Yeah, how much more we can say about that particular.
Yeah,
scene.
without. I mean, to be fair, we'll probably get demonetized regardless.
It's just Oh, I mean, we're not afraid of crossing the line here on the Millionth show, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Not
I
even
think
monetized.
everyone kind of feels the same way about this particular scene. So we'll move on.
Yeah,
Great.
this thing I never get, like, apart from like kind of later, like most, like, you know, I mean, I guess there's a difference between a romance scene and like a sex scene. Like half of the time, actually basically, I can't think of almost any sex scene in Bond which is like actually like has any point other than because who's this for?
Yeah, but Henry, I mean, that's kind of a trope with all films. Is there ever a sex scene that's really,
Yeah, no, but like
really needed?
who is it
I mean,
for? That's what I want to know. Like
sorry.
I know, but like who is it for? Who's
Oh,
it?
well, it's for Xenia's character building, isn't it? It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is
I
what she
know
does.
for her, I guess she uses a weapon, so it kind of you can justify it that way. So
It's to steal his ID, maybe. 'Cause
yeah,
you see
I know
in-
that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
in general in films, I'm just like, who?
Well,
what,
I mean, obviously with films, there's always like over the top, gratuitous, sex scenes.
we have a
But
lot of gratuitous sex and violence.
yeah, that's right. But I think in this, yeah, and they're never. I mean, they're never strictly necessary, right? Which is actually why I think for a lot of my favorite films, I kind of noticed this actually. I was thinking about it, a lot of my favorite films don't have anything like that at all in them.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I mean, everyone knows my favorite.
Seven.
If yeah, Seven and Blade Runner, and,
I think
like Gladiator, stuff like that.
Say the
But
line,
yeah,
Bar.
I think like I had like you might think it's awkward, but like I had this one friend who I watched it with who made like the most awkward comment possible about it. Like for me,
go on.
um, don't even know if I
Yeah.
should. He
No,
said
go
that
say it, please. I want to hear this.
Yeah.
he also happened to know like our dad, and then he said the guy looked like dad.
Uh,
And I've never
great.
been able to unsee it, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Anyway, so then we cut to Moscow. No, then we cut to Russia.
Yeah.
Now I really like this.
He's
I
got
think,
eyebrows.
yeah. No, I really like this. This whole. You forget about Bond for a bit, and you're watching another film effectively, and I think
Yeah.
this is so effective for actually building up. Firstly, the Bond girl, but also a side
Boris.
character in Boris.
Yeah.
And just in general, it's just world building, which Bond often lacks. So, you get character development, and this is where it's done very well. It feels very real. It's just a bunch of colleagues, and they're sat in this
Yeah.
base doing like this boring communist job, having coffee breaks and cigarettes. And it feels very real. And I really enjoy this. Boris is a slughead.
I like it a lot too. Like
Yeah.
it's very like I don't know, believable and like
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. Like everyone there seems to have like even if they don't get like many lines. They all seem to have like chemistry with each other, and
Exactly.
it's
Even
not.
even the lady who's like Natalia's friend, I can't the dark haired Anna, I think her name is. Even a side character like that, very believable. It's just like it feels very grounded. It kind of reminds me of The Living Daylights when you see her flat. I forget the Kara's flat.
Yeah.
It's just like okay, this is real. These are real people, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, they're met with tragedy pretty quickly because
Yeah.
I mean, these scenes are kind of happening side by side, but you have
this is where making a kappa saves your life.
Yep. So yeah, I mean Boris is kind of doing his sort of like flirty, but also, he's like
It's
what
so
is he? Is he
funny.
the original? Is he like an original? Not he's not Giga Chad, but he's some kind of he's like the original troll, like online troll,
literally.
or something
Yeah,
like that.
he's like, I'm
Is
gonna hack the Department of
Yeah.
Justice.
He's like the OG sort of, trying to think of the exact terminology, but I can't right now. You know what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
anyway,
I mean, yeah, his like persona, he thinks he's a Giga Chad, but he's like,
yeah. He's like the OG keyboard warrior sort of
yeah,
thing.
he literally is in this film. He's played by Alan Cumming, right?
Alan Cummings, yeah.
Yeah, he's probably one of the best like characters.
Yeah. This is the
true.
thing. Yeah, these smaller characters, because they have they have less pressure on them. I think they're really well written.
Hmm.
They have believable dialogue. I think the more like Pierce Brosnan, Sean Bean, there's a bit more expectation on them. So
Yeah, it's like
they're given sort of bigger things to say, and everything has to be like a quote. So
this
you know,
really feels like this could just be like someone just put a camera inside like some like Russian
Exactly.
facility where they're just having
Mm.
banter slash to turn this guy to fuck.
exactly.
we get like I think Boris is they do like a version of like thing is with Boris, he's very believable as like as a betrayer as well. Like
Oh yeah.
like and they try to do that later with like Obruchev in a very similar circumstances.
Well, he even says that. He even goes, "Oh well, if our boss sees this, I'll get sent to Moscow. I'll get $1 million." You know, he's like,
Yeah.
he definitely would have got snapped up by like he'd have been on their radar as like, okay, this guy's someone we need in our operation as like the tech guy. You know, you always have someone like that.
Yeah, he's like I don't know. He's like the gamer slash tech expert version of Walter White in Russia. Overqualified
I kind
for
of see
this
him as
job.
more like, well, anyway, I mean, there are a lot of characters like this before. He's not the first one to have done it. I mean, I think of Die Hard, for example, Tom, when you have the guy who's hacking into the bank and into the vault and stuff
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You know, it's that kind of guy. Like Alan Rickman doesn't know how to do that. He just has to like let this guy get on with it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I like
So
how
anyway.
like he's such like in this. I know we're talking a bit long about Boris, but like he's
No,
like
great guy.
he's
He deserves his
like,
own spin-off, like
Yeah, the life of
miniseries.
Boris.
I like how he's like so indispensable in terms of computer skills. Like
Mm.
you get like later at the end, you get Alec Trevelyan who absolutely hates his guts and like
Yeah,
wants
Yeah.
nothing to do with him, but he like just has to have him, otherwise his
Yeah.
operation. It's quite
brilliant.
funny to see that happen.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Anyway, so this is, like I said, happening side by side with Bond and Xenia hijacking the Tiger helicopter.
Oh, yeah.
And then they fly it all the way from Monaco, wherever that is, to Russia somehow
Yeah, despite it's like
in the space of half an
surely they
hour.
were tracking it, right?
I assume there must have been a bit of time passing, which they don't really demonstrate very well. But yeah, it feels like they fly directly from there to like, to the base.
Yes, this is like literally in the middle of Russia as well. Like,
And I really like
Yeah.
how you don't actually know what happens to Boris because he goes out for a cigarette and then this helicopter, and you think, oh, he's dead, and then he's not, obviously.
oh yeah, because I actually completely forgot he'd gone out for a cigarette. So
Yeah, it's very cool. And anyway, so then Arumanov and Xenia, Xenia actually mows down everyone. She does it very quick, like. Yeah, she's the only one shooting, and they're all like dispersed around the room. Like, she's able to kill them all from like not even moving around, which I
mean,
and
obviously,
then creams herself.
At least they bothered to make it add detail of she goes to the guards first, and the rest of them are just unarmed. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously Natalia's, she kind of
making a cup of
she's
tea.
out of the way.
Had the
She
worst
survived.
coffee break of her life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, I mean, this is something that always like surprised me. The fact, I mean, because I forgot that this is the thing. I always thought she did actually escape through the roof, but then like it's a fake.
Yeah.
It's actually in the cupboard.
I think that's great. So yeah, anyway, so then they activate the GoldenEye and set it on self-destruct, basically.
To blow up this base because
Yeah, so you have some very loose kind of like plot happening here.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we cut to the new MI6, the new Moneypenny, Tanner, and
Moneypenny
M.
played by Samantha Bond.
Yeah, she's one I always forget about, and then I watch her and I'm like, oh no, this is horrible, man. I hated her dialogue with Bond in this. It's just so cringe. It's really a far cry from Lois
Counts
Maxwell.
as sexual harassment.
I will like confess.
Doesn't do anything about it.
I will confess that like I just completely skipped like stuff like that when I was watching it. I was like, I don't have time.
That is quite a testament to.
Don't blame you. But anyway, we get to meet Tanner, who's like this kind of boffin, random guy there, and we have Judi Dench as M.
Yeah, it's her introduction is so good as well. Like like because like you see her popping in the background if you're paying attention, but then like if you're not, just like Tanner was, it's like well if the evil queen of numbers will like let you, and then like Bond's just like, and he just realizes he's like.
What irritates me about I mean, as a broader point, how everyone associates Judi Dench with Daniel Craig, right? Like,
Yeah.
as far as you're probably the average guy on the street, they just think Judi Dench was in the Daniel Craig films, but
No,
she's
she's
not.
in less of his films. Actually,
Exactly.
no. Well, she's in. Yeah, she. Well, technically,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
she's in
Yeah.
She
four.
has more
Well-
Pierce Brosnan films, actually.
Yeah.
Well,
And,
actually, I won't spoil anything.
Yeah,
so-
yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, anyway, she's here, and yeah, she's like, straight away doing her thing, doing what she's so well known for. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone knows Judi Dench now, so Dame Judi Dench, no less.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the equivalent of like, Don for like a man, isn't it? Like Don Salamanca or something like that, like
Yeah.
Don Conte
It's
or something from The Godfather. It's
quite
like
like
Dame Judi Dench. I think that's cool.
yeah. She's just great in a way that it's like, you know, like the way that they would shit talk her behind her back, but like when she's
Yeah.
around, they're just like kind of shitting themselves.
And you know what I like? They don't make any bones about her kind of. They straight away go, yeah, oh, if I want sarcasm, I'll talk to my children. It's like, okay, she's a mum. There's kind of like
That's
straight
also
away
correct,
addressing that
yeah.
as well. Those kind of general questions that people would have, straight away addresses
Yeah,
that.
they've given her great like I think she
Oh,
is
yeah.
like written like greatness like
Oh, yeah, extremely well.
very they gave more care into like the way they introduced M than the way they introduced Bond almost. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously with like the stunts, that's all great, but in terms of like the next thing you see in that car evaluation, then like
That's right. And then, yeah, they sit in her office for a bit and, have a chat.
the princess had kept some cognac in there. She's like, oh no, I like this. More.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like,
She lays down the law with him, which is interesting to see.
yeah, don't go on any personal vendettas, Bob. Remember what happened last time.
Yeah. So yeah, and then yeah, like I said, the Golden Bay, they actually kind of watch it live on their monitor. Like,
Yeah.
oh, she has a great line. Bond,
Yeah,
because
'cause
Bond
I
goes,
was
oh, this is
like-
live, isn't it? And she goes, well, unlike the Americans, we don't get our bad news from CNN. What a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
line, man! Fantastic.
Yeah, this is great as well because like
They give all the good lines to like everyone but Pierce Brosnan, man.
yeah, she does a very good job in. I mean, the way that they've actually basically cut this film together is the fact that you literally have these two stories which are related but physically apart from each other,
Mhm.
like happening at the same time, and you see them like both evolving, like, and
Yeah.
they're kind of watching almost like the audience, like, oh, there is a survivor, sort of.
That's right. That's right. So that's cool. And Natalia, fortunately, well, she gets out. I mean, she has her own very like
Yeah,
harrowing experience, which you get to see, where she's like seen all of her friends and colleagues die, and it's good that you get that moment to grieve with her as well, because, like I said, it just builds her character a lot. And you can see even the clothes she's wearing. She's just like a very plain sort. I mean, she's very beautiful,
Ordinary.
but yeah, very like believable, down to earth person, which is great.
Hmm.
And
I really like her, like as a
yeah.
Bond girl.
yeah.
I
think
think she's for sure one of the best. She'll
she's
do very
like-
well in the rankings, I think.
she's an amazing. She's the survivor, like among all
Yeah.
the Bond girls. Like she's, yeah, I really like her.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
Yeah, and she really goes through the mills here, man. She nearly gets like killed by debris and explosions and stuff, and she gets rescued by some dogs, which is good.
yeah. She meets
I
one
just,
of the best
I
friends.
just realized, like she does everything right that what's her name, Pam Bouvier got wrong in License to Kill, because like she was like you don't see her having like experience or anything. You just hear her like lecture Bond on the boat. It's like, I've done this, I've done, and then this
Yeah.
film actually you see the Bond girl like surviving
Yeah,
stuff
it's
and like
showing, not telling.
and like growing as a character, and I
Yeah.
think it's
Yeah,
infinitely better than that.
I agree. I mean, I'm already earmarking her as like probably second in the Bond girl rankings,
Yeah.
actually. So anyway,
I like how like literally no one's ever like dethroning Tracy. Like we just decided,
yeah. Although I think this is probably the closest we get.
more or less.
Maybe, yeah.
And I think in many ways, actually, you could argue Natalia is the best Bond girl, but obviously, that's kind of like that's like in football you have like all the footballers, and then you have like an extra, which is Ronaldo and Messi. It's kind of like that,
Yeah.
like. But anyway,
Yeah, more or less.
so then we go and meet Q. So always good to see Desmond
Oh,
Llewellyn.
it's because like it's almost like a fake out for the audience because like Han, he's not actually he's not like wheelchair like Desmond Llewellyn himself is a
Oh,
wheelchair.
yeah, that's
is
right.
it?
I never thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, because like One's oh yeah, sorry about the leg, and it's like oh what like like a car accident. He's like oh no hunting. He's like
Yeah.
you can tell Dylan Llewellyn's like having so much fun in these scenes. Like
Oh yeah, it's just fully fledged Q now, isn't it? I mean, yeah, you've already had this with like Roger Moore and stuff, but this is like, it's not taking it to the
this
next
is
level, but
really where the
they've really
gadgets
got
go.
comfortable
Like
with what they can do with him, and he's having a great time. You can just see that, can't you? With Bond, they have some good,
I
they have
love
some pretty good dialogue.
I
So
love the
that's,
line where it's like, "Don't touch that."
yeah,
Like,
of
it's
course,
my lunch. Like,
of
oh
course,
man, and you get
classic.
to you get the great like background gags. The guy's getting like trapped
Yeah.
in the phone booth. Someone gets like ejected out of a car. Oh yeah, and remember, pay attention to this BMW because it becomes very important for later on.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, then Bond goes to Russia and he meets someone that, yeah, I couldn't wait to see again,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
like
This is
basically the stand-in Felix Leiter. So
yeah, Jack Wade, right? Played by the same guy who plays
really is the very last person I wanted to
yeah.
see, man.
he is,
This is like
yeah.
code people who like subscribe to the code name theory. How do you explain Jack Wade? Did like if everyone who plays different if the same actor right can go to different like roles in the film, like obviously the guy who played Robert Brown's M was in
Mhm.
a previous film as like a Navy commander or something.
Oh well, this guy clearly isn't. Are you trying to say this guy's like Brad Whitaker?
No. This is if you were a guy who subscribes to the code name, how do you explain that? Did Brad Whitaker get hit on the head so hard he joined the CIA or something? Like,
Well, no, obviously not. It's
yeah,
like, oh,
I
it's
know, I
Lord
know,
Adams.
I know that's
Yeah,
clearly not the case, but
Sanders.
like people who subscribe to the codename theory
Yeah, but
never
I think
like bring
that's
this up.
very exclusively with 007 rather than, you know,
No, well they
Jack
work
Harrow.
the same. They do it the same how they explain with M's. People who play the same character,
Well,
people who play different characters.
yeah, that's true, but I think most people are pretty like savvy on where that line is drawn. You
Yeah,
can accept it. I think everyone accepts it for M and probably Q to an extent, but not Moneypenny and not Felix Leiter. I don't
yeah.
think
Felix
certainly
Light, man,
Jack
they go through more
or
Felix letters
Blofeld.
than actual
It's
Bond
like
roles.
there's obvious ones, but although that is a very good argument against the codename theory. But anyway,
Yeah,
um, so then
yeah.
yeah,
Jimmy
they
Bond.
get their little scene together. Then this is great as well. Natalia gets her own bit again, where she's like going into this computer store, and
Oh
she's
yeah,
like, oh, I love her, man. She's
oh yeah.
throwing
I'm
her weight
making a
around. She's
massive
like,
order of
she's
computers.
being a
Let me
boss.
test them.
She's like bossing this guy around, making a complete fake story up so she can like get in contact with Boris.
She's like, yeah, it is
Yeah, and
amazing.
like she's not using it for like sending it to schools or anything. She's just like hacking them. Like,
And I think that's great because it's not like, because back then they didn't have internet cafes or anything. That is really how the only way she would have been able to get and I
yeah,
really like that. And again, it is, like you say, Henry, show, not tell. It's very well done. Everything they do with her characters really, like,
mm.
very well thought through, I think. Very well written.
Yeah, she does more spy work than James Bond in this.
Pretty much. So yeah, she gets in touch with Boris, and I love that her like when she's like, "Oh, is everything good?" and she's like, "Yeah, everything except the interruptions." It's like I love
Yeah,
her. Um,
Yeah.
and then obviously I'm skipping ahead a bit, but obviously she gets unfortunately kidnapped by Boris in the church later. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
What a way to betray someone.
yeah. Anyway, so then Bond goes and meets. Well, Jack Wade goes and takes him to
Zukovsky.
Valentine. I can't remember. It's Robbie Coltrane basically. Who
Yeah.
I love this guy, man. He's
Oh
in
yeah,
everything.
I love the way they set it up like their kind of relationship beforehand. They've even met me. It's like, oh yeah, he's this guy with a limp, and he's like, oh you know each other. It's like I gave him the limp.
Yeah, I love that.
yeah.
It's very like it's a good bit of world building. It just fleshes out Bond a bit more. It makes him more believable. I think. And
Uh,
because he would have like beefs with people like this, and they do
yeah,
that a lot
this
with Pierce Brosnan actually, because they do it later in Tomorrow Never Dies as well. But anyway,
this
like he's
guy's
got
so
history, he's got a past as well, and it catches up with him. And Robbie Coltrane, you can't go wrong with him, man. Obviously, he's Hagrid, he's in
yeah.
Blackadder as well, very memorably. So yeah, I think their scene. He again, one of these characters that's like a bit more not a major character, but really,
He adds to the film a lot.
yeah, you really
Pretty
enjoy.
well.
So he's a breath of fresh air, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just like yeah, because he's like Bond has to go to ask him for a favor, and like they literally laugh at the prospect.
Yeah.
But he's
Yeah.
appealing to his wallet, which is, another thing. It's just like you could believe that he would do this.
Yeah.
I
I
like the
think it's
little
fantastic.
I like the little back and forth they have later. It's like he's trying to, because he's rivals with Janus, so like he's like, I need this and this, and he's like, oh, and he's like talks about helicopters, like okay,
Yeah.
6, he's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
3, none that fly, like
Yeah.
just
So yeah,
adding to
who's counting?
this little history they've got. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's
Funny.
very good. And what's not so good is the next scene, because Bond is having a nice relaxing swim, and
Yeah.
he's joined by Xenia. So
Yeah, the first I think ever sex fight I've ever seen in the film. So
yeah, this is very again
which
just
is
strange.
I really want to know who thought like who was like writing Xenia's character for this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's.
I think they sort of Mayday and Fatima blush.
I feel I feel
let's-
like they've tried. I was thinking about Mayday. Feel like they tried to like mash Zorin, Mayday, and Fatima Blush all into one character.
and it went horribly.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was just too much.
but then again, I sit here and I don't really have any like suggestions how to improve this character other than removing them from the film entirely. So
literally.
I don't really know what you could do with her. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that depends on your definition of safe sex.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
But
anyway,
my mind
we move on
flapped
from
PhD
that. Oh
there.
yeah, because so Xenia's apparently the go between to go and take him to 006, well, to Yanis, totally
Yeah,
not
yeah.
006.
And it's like the middle of this like abandoned Soviet like
Yeah, this
this is
weird
where they
graveyard,
chopped
man.
all their statues off,
I mean, it's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool
It makes
set.
no sense, but it's like
Yeah,
aesthetic.
just for him to like walk out of there, like he'd been standing there for the last 16 hours. Waiting for this.
This is literally like Zack Snyder like making a bot. This is just like
Yeah.
okay, it doesn't really make sense, but it's cool, so we'll do
Yeah,
it.
for the
Because
trailer.
when Sean Bean actually steps out from and he's just got, it's like the poster from The Thing. It's just he's a silhouette and you have this like beam of this arc lamp
Yes,
behind him. Just
he's got like he's installed a
so
Yanis
cool.
smoke machine there too.
Yeah, what a great villain reveal, man.
Yeah, it is great. And like I think this I mean, not the soundtrack of them talking with each other is a bit strange because it's like a piano.
I hate that. This is really awful, man. It's really and 006 just goes on this like starts talking about his like villain origin story and stuff.
Yeah,
You're just
yeah.
like,
This
okay,
is the
yeah.
thing
I
that
mean,
think
it's
is
important
bullshit,
that we
right?
know this about him, but I think they could have delivered
Yeah.
it in a much more effective way.
This is
I mean,
something
they
that-
hinted at it before with Robbie Coltrane, but still,
This is
it's
something that I like. The thing that I don't like that I never got in this is the fact that obviously he's pissed off at Bond for the fact that he set the timer for 3 minutes instead of 6. But when he changed the timer, he thought you were already dead. So like, it's not fucking
Yeah.
betrayal, is it?
yeah,
It's like, oh, sorry, mate. When I saw you get like shot in the head, I thought you actually died.
yeah. And of course, he's got his obligatory Bond villain facial disfigurement.
Yeah.
At least it's a little bit more subtle in this case. He's just like got a bit of scarring on his face, but still, it's like all right.
Yeah. Well,
It's like a
it's a
two-faced
second
light, isn't it?
face, like
Yeah.
Yanis.
Yeah. So Yanis turns out to be 006, which is like, oh, okay, which is cool.
It is quite cool. So
Yeah,
Of course.
it's
And I think I just wish the music was better. If you had good music and slightly better written dialogue, this
Yeah.
could be an all-time Bond scene. This could be a real all-timer. Instead, it's just like it's just a bit
Yeah.
lacking.
Yeah, the thing is that I don't get is like, oh yeah, I've anticipated your every move. It's like, no, he's just hoping you don't shoot him so your guy with the trank can get him. Like,
Yeah, well,
that's
Bond does
literally
get
it.
tranquilized and then wakes up in the Tiger helicopter with Natalia behind him, and
Yeah, this has never made much sense, I think.
yeah.
Because like,
well, yeah, it's just giving Bond a chance to escape, but it's also like trying to get this helicopter
frame them.
off the books, and well, yeah, it is to frame him actually. You're right, Tom. So yeah, it
Yeah.
is. I mean, you can't look too much into the plot of this film, otherwise it just falls apart.
yeah,
But and I don't like Pierce Brosnan headbutting the panels and stuff.
Yeah, it
It's
is a
very
bit-
undignified, isn't it?
yeah, but it's what he's
But-
got to do, to be fair.
He-
So
he
Oh
has-
yeah, well yeah, true. He's literally hitting the panic button, and there's little else he can do. But yeah,
yeah. Oh, what's this giant red button? Bang, and then like this sends him flying.
yeah.
I
But
mean,
I believe all of it because, like, yeah, you would have that in your cockpit, wouldn't you, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
and I like that the timer does run out, and then it's like, oh, what's going to happen now? Then the missiles shoot, and then they're turning to
Yeah,
and
this
you can
feels like very almost like a Bond-themed saw trap, like it's like he
kind
wakes
of,
up, he's been asleep so long he missed like Alex's like tape like explaining to them why he's here.
that's right.
Yeah, that's what the whole previous
So they
conversation was.
escape, and then they get out, and Natalia tries to run away and stuff, as of course you would.
But
And then
they-
suddenly the troops show up, like
yeah, the Russians
it's
because they
because
need
they've
someone
been
to frame. So
they've been tipped off probably like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
but-
they're in the copter and like.
But does that mean they expected Bond to escape? what?
well,
I
either way,
think
well, even if Bond was like dead,
Yeah,
They
they just
would-
find their charred remains in
yeah,
there.
then they'd be
Maybe-
like, oh well, look, we found the people who nicked it. So even though they
Maybe-
missiled themselves.
maybe they were like behind the bushes or something, trying to like pay attention if like they were trying to, in case they did or in case they didn't, because maybe a rumor was there like waiting to give them the order to get them or something. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
as they might have been paying attention, it's now your time to pay attention. So
Ooh.
it's
Yeah,
now
nice.
time to open license to quiz for GoldenEye.
I want to play a game.
Yeah, you're the new
Yeah.
not quartermaster, you're the new quizmaster.
Yeah, after the last debacle. But what was I gonna? Right, so
Pleasure
the
was all
fir-
mine.
we will not have the box office question as is custom on this.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
because
Yeah,
Henry
'cause
accidentally
I
saw it.
when I was looking, when I was looking up stuff about this film, I may have accidentally popped across it on the
But
web.
Henry, you saw the budget, not the box office,
No, I
right?
saw the box office, not the budget. So
Oh, okay.
And with that in mind, what was the budget of this film? Do you think, according to IMDb?
man, this is really tough because like
I
this
think this
feels like
must have had a pretty healthy budget. I'm going to go with 45 million.
I'm gonna go with 50 million.
Final answers? Do you remember what it was for License to Kill, by the way?
32 million.
All right. So final answers: James 45 million and
Yep.
Henry 50 million.
Yeah, I'm going with that.
The point goes to Henry. This film was actually 60 million in terms of budget. So
Yeah.
They must have splashed quite a bit on this.
Henry, if I'd have said
Yeah.
50, would you have said
I would
55?
have probably gone higher still.
Yeah,
Hmm.
fair enough.
now,
What was the box office then? I mean, you can just tell us.
It was $364 million.
Really? That's good.
This was very successful, I think. So
I suppose after all those years, like hearing James Bond was back might have formed like a glut in the cinema or something like that.
Oh yeah, and with
But-
Pierce Brosnan, Sean Bean, it was like pretty A-list sort of. Well,
Yeah.
relatively speaking, wasn't it?
So,
Some nobody like Timothy Dalton.
oh,
What?
who's the Shakespearean? Fuck this,
Yeah. Or was this a play? Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine what the average cinema girl was thinking. Like, what the
No, I don't think so. But anyway,
this guy
so
from Jane
what's
Eyre,
question
yeah.
2?
oh yeah, Gina. So like, what was the time on the explosive device before James Bond switched it to 3
6
minutes?
6 minutes.
No. Like when he switches it, you see a time on the actual like thing, which it's just at before he changed it to 3
All right,
minutes.
I'm gonna go with 5 minutes 23.
What? I don't understand the
So
question.
like, he said
He
it.
changes it. He changes it. He sets it to 6 minutes. He changes it at some point to 3 minutes, but it was
And you
already
see
set
it-
at
Oh,
streaming.
okay. So when he changes it to 3 minutes, I don't know, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. I don't know.
So 4 minutes 30 seconds and 5 minutes 23 seconds.
No, I'll go a bit higher. I'm going to go 4 minutes and 58 seconds.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go 5 minutes and 23.
Okay.
James is probably closer.
5 minutes 23 and 5 minutes what?
No, I say 4 minutes 58.
Can you like just give final answer because this is confusing.
Yeah. 4 minutes 58. That's my final.
5 minutes 23. That's my final answer.
All right. Well, Henry's closer. It's 5 minutes 36 seconds. So
Wow. He had a 24-second conversation before deciding, yeah, let's blow everyone up.
yeah.
Nice.
So yeah,
All right, 2-0 then.
have to be paying
Good
attention.
start.
Have to be paying attention to this.
I wasn't paying attention, to be honest. So yeah, it's showing.
Let's take an educated guess on that. So
All
Yeah.
right. So in the intro, you said it was very interesting with all the Lenin statues. Specifically, how many were there in the intro displayed?
Oh man.
I was
How
probably
many
looking at my
Lenin
phone when that was
statues?
happening. I don't know, 7. I don't have a clue.
I'm probably gonna go with like. Oh, was it more or less than 7? Is really the question. Probably go higher, maybe like 8.
Right, 7, James, Henry, 8. Final
Yep.
answers.
Yep.
The point goes to James because it's 5 actually who are in
Good.
the
Oh,
5
but the
Lenin
other just like
statues.
anonymous kind of like you got some Stalin ones or something.
No, there were Lenin / there was a couple of Trotsky one as well. So
Okay, that's interesting.
I distinguished. Um,
Yeah,
all right.
I appreciate that you distinguish between the two.
Well, as you have to. In GoldenEye, quite famously in the video game world, spawned a video game that was very
Yeah,
popular.
more famous than the film, basically.
It was actually the 3rd best-selling game on the N64 console. But how many copies did it sell?
Oh,
This
that's
is
really.
so stacked towards in Henry's favour, man. I don't have a
Well, I
clue
don't know
about
the
this kind of
sales
stuff.
of this game. I mean,
Yeah, but you know about gaming and stuff, which I don't.
yeah, but I've never played.
I'm
one
gonna
of these.
go 20 million. I really don't have a clue, man. 20 million copies.
Actually, Tom, could you give us like a benefit of a hint of what the top selling one was?
I think it was Super Mario 64. I was looking at the list, but like that was
Yeah, I'm
number
gonna go
3.
20 million.
Yeah, there wasn't a Metroid game on it. I didn't care. Oh, is it more or less than 20 million? I'll probably have to guess something like 17 million, I'm guessing.
Your final answers are 17 million and 20 million.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Henry's closer actually. But actually you're both very far off.
Yeah, I
The
was wondering,
game,
like, how much do those ones sell? Because, like, the highest one, anyway.
the third, it actually sold 8,009,000 copies, which was 90,000 copies, which is much lower than I expected as well, actually.
Yeah.
But that goes to Henry. The score is 3-1 at the moment.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
really pay attention from now on, man.
That was
I
was
forgot
a-
that this was gonna happening. Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, yeah, GoldenEye was. I mean, we might have a video of us playing it at some point, possibly, because I have it. So
The
never
James
played it
Bond
in my life.
trivia quiz.
I played
Yeah.
GoldenEye once at a
Oh,
mate's
that.
house, but yeah.
Yeah, you've
I-
played it.
I-
We haven't.
I actually played it at Bewley Expedition once
Oh.
when there was that
Oh, really?
50-year anniversary.
Well, I guess you
stuff.
two should have wiped the floor with me then. So
Yeah.
But
Sure.
unfortunately, I wasn't part of this quiz. So, um, right. So this is interesting. You mentioned Russia in this, but when was the last James Bond film where James Bond was in Russia, supposedly?
Or where he's actually in Russia, or where they say he's in Russia.
They say he's in Russia.
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a very long time ago.
I don't know whether to do this like who says the correct film first or who's closer in terms of films.
Is it From Russia with Love?
I'm gonna
Nope.
say.
They never say he goes to Russia.
I'm gonna say.
I'm gonna make you guess.
Spy Love Me.
Nope. Keep guessing.
Oxpussy.
Nope.
Oh, shit. I don't have a clue now.
Huh.
Why did I say Oxpussy?
It's tough, man. Actually, it's a very
Yeah.
good question.
It's a good question. Moscow. It's not The Spy Love Me. The Living Daylights.
Nope.
I really don't remember when they
Views for
said.
Kill.
Was it
Yep. James got it correct.
Views to Kill? When was he supposedly in Russia?
In the
Oh,
beginning,
yeah, of
when-
course, in the beginning.
Ah, yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah, you're right. Well,
I knew it was a
shame on
Roger
me.
Moore film. All right.
I was thinking about it.
So
as
what's
we
it
were
now?
watching.
3-2.
Great question.
It's 3-2. Yeah. So,
Come on.
Henry's still within winning distance, so they keep it. Pay attention, I should say. For the actress for Natalia, is called. Her name's Isabella Skorupko,
Mhm.
and she was born in Sweden, but is
Polish.
ethnic. Yep, James got it.
Wait, what did you even say? What was? I know where's she actually from. That's the question.
She's ethnically from which country? And James just got it before I finished.
What was
So
it? Finland.
no, it's Poland.
Ah,
So
all right. Well,
that's-
shame
I'm
on
really
me, I guess.
I'm surprised James like got that.
Yeah,
before I
You
even
shouldn't
finished.
be.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I expect James to be, the one winning this for this film.
So, all right, the
Here we go.
final
This
question.
is good. 3-3. This is great.
It's funny, we get 3-3s very often. We're not rigging this. This just happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not scripted.
So go on. What's the last question?
All right, where at the end of the film, where is the satellite said to be going to burn up over?
London. Oh.
Oh shit. The sea. South Africa?
Nope, not South Africa.
Man,
You have to say
Mm.
a specific place.
The Sahara.
Nope. Start guessing, James, because you might get it wrong and
Well,
get it
should we
right.
just do like final answers
Australia?
and you've
I
got to
don't know.
do geographically the closest? Should we do that?
Hey,
Would you?
is it somewhere in Asia?
Nope.
Should we go with like? Should we go with like
Africa? Is it in
we do our
Africa?
our
Nope.
final answer of where
South
we're
America?
guessing, right?
Henry-
and then
no.
you say who's closest.
All
Instead
right,
of
North
so-
America?
us spam guessing.
Nope. Do a final.
I'm just trying to
answer.
get it down to the continent. Is it in Europe?
Nope. It's
I'm
it
kind
saying
of
it will
Is it
go
the North or
above-
South Pole?
nope.
So is the
I'm
ocean
gonna say
somewhere?
like in the sun. I'm just gonna say it's burning up.
Yeah,
over-
it's in one of the oceans.
Atlantic.
Yep, James got it.
Yes.
All right.
Ah, come on, lads.
It doesn't because like the flight. I remember looking at the flight path of it, and it was gonna go over South Africa. So I was like,
Told you, Henry. Remember what I said when we did? Was it Never Say Never Again? Yeah.
yeah.
So anyway,
So
you
I
got a near draw.
I thought that like
first blood, mate. You bottled a 3-1 lead, mate.
Right. Well, I mean, I lost my first one with Tom, but then look what happened.
Yeah, we'll see,
yeah,
mate.
Tom got bubonic plague and died. So
Yeah, true. I was taking advantage of an illness.
Yeah. All right. First
Um,
blood.
So
Good.
James, it is James, which is 4-3. I actually thought that was really obvious. Like she goes at one point, it will burn up somewhere over the Atlantic, and I was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I kind of forgot.
I missed that entirely. But yeah, okay. All right. So then, Bond and
James, take
Natalia,
the-
they're arrested and taken to some prison, some jail, which again is just very, very nice. It's just nice cinematography. I think.
Lovely old
Like
prison, you know.
the lighting. No, I just mean the lighting and everything. It's just very nicely lit. So they have a chat, and Natalia gets into her origin story a little bit as well. And then Aruminov walks in, and yeah, he does some very strange stuff, like handing Bond his gun back.
Yeah.
Not really sure why.
Yeah,
he
I
did
did
that.
not understand that. That was like some, I don't know, wannabe
Tom,
like,
have you got any kind of theory as to why he would do that?
no idea.
I don't know. So maybe his fingerprints are on it or something. So,
Oh, okay. Well, they'd have probably been on it.
but then
anyway.
how would they retrieve it back? I don't know.
I mean, my first question is why doesn't Aruminov shoot Bond, and then my second question is why doesn't Bond shoot Aruminov?
Yeah,
like,
really.
Yeah.
Like that's literally just how it is.
yeah, very strange. So then, yeah. Anyway, so then Bond escapes and gets in a tank. We have the famous tank chase
Yeah,
through St. Petersburg.
this is something that I kind of like, which I'm so glad they did. If you have heard the original soundtrack they were going to use for this tank chase, it was like is very similar to what you've heard throughout the film. It was like akin to
Uh-huh.
like that beginning car chase, It was that bad.
Wow.
But then they decided, let's like because I think I forgot who it was. I think this was like a very very late decision to like put the Bond theme over it.
Oh, thank
like-
God they
Yeah.
did that. Yeah.
What more could you want than like the Bond theme as like this is a very rare instance I think actually where Bond's not being chased. He's the one chasing the villain in its tank.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Other than firing it, they basically make as much use of a tank as you really could, to be honest.
I think
Yeah, I think this is probably the highlight of the film. This is the bit everyone remembers, right? More or less.
Yeah, it's the bit they use on the poster,
It's very good. I mean, you
I
can't
think-
go wrong with this.
I think the decision to put the Bond Monty Norman theme over it was like really basically the sole reason this is like remembered as probably one of the most iconic
Yeah.
chases.
Yeah,
James
yeah,
Bond.
I
think
agree.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I have to say about this, like in a negative way, is the fact that this is like, if Michael Bay directed it, like, there is a lot of stuff that's exploding that shouldn't. Like, the tank touched the car and it explodes, man. Like,
Yeah, but this
Yes.
is a Bond film. This, you
I know, but particularly in this case, I feel like maybe it's the fact that Brosnan was famously in a lot of like Bond video games that it kind of almost reflects in his films too.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, this is just everyone knows this scene. It's very nicely done.
It is. It
Good
doesn't
music.
take away from it. I think it's still quite good. So.
Yeah, and I like you've got Aruminov like swigging from his flask as well. It's there's a good little bit of comedy in there. It's just very well done.
Yeah, I kind of like
This
as
is-
well. Like
This is Pierce Brosnan at his best.
yeah,
And when
yeah,
he's
I like as
adjusting,
well, like
is it when he's adjusting his tie, or he's sort of
yeah. He
Yeah.
just tie after
yeah.
fucking some people up. Like as well. Like I like kind of Natalie's like kind of more like because of the focuses on the room because he's drinking, but like hers is kind of she's like kind of like oh yeah rooting for Bond, but at the same time like is he gonna crush this car? Like
Yeah, she
Well,
doesn't really
yeah.
know. She
What's gonna
she
happen?
doesn't trust him for sure at this point.
Yeah, true.
Because as well, he kind of left her behind as well. So he
Well,
just
he
keeps
couldn't
saying
really do-
trust me
obviously
to her.
think-
Like he
There
keeps
wasn't
saying
much
trust
before.
me, trust me,
I
trust
think
me.
I
And
think
then
she I think she is like wanting him is because he's more of an unknown. So like he might kill her, he might not. So far he hasn't. Whereas Arumov literally massacred and intended to kill like her
that's
as well.
right.
So she's like she knows she's gonna die if she like gets
That's true,
the car.
yeah.
Thing. So like
Oh
That's
man,
true.
and tell you what though, the one probably like one of the most iconic things in this film comes up next. Like the fact that I forgot that this chase goes into the next thing being Bond.
Yeah. Do you know what's weird for me as well? Sorry, just before you
train.
go on to it. I paused the film about halfway through, and I didn't realize the film was halfway through. This film goes by really quick, man. It's
Yeah.
like very, very well paced.
yeah.
And yeah, because I was, you think, okay, there's the tank chase and there's that train, but they happen back to back, which is like awesome, man.
The only thing that I find questionable was obviously they all get in the train. She meets 006,
oh,
and like, how does Bond get his tank he overtakes the train somehow and gets in the tunnel? Like,
I think again, there's a little bit of passing of time here.
I
no,
think
no, but
very
like
well
even
implied.
so, like the tank can't physically like catch up with a train like that. It's not.
Well, I don't think it did. He probably, although
That's a good
there is a
point,
lot of
actually.
question. How did Bond? Yeah, again, you just can't look into this film soon.
Yeah, I know, but it's like I think it's fine. Like I think looking over stuff is fine as long as you're not actually thinking about it while you're watching the film. It's like when it's like
Yeah.
It's like hang on a minute.
My question as well: why does 006 make the decision to ram the tank? That is
Yeah.
not going to end well for you, mate. Like, okay, at best I can think, okay, he's playing chicken, but then the tank's not mobile enough to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Well, I think either way he'd have to stop or do something.
That's true.
Basically. I
That's
think he
true.
just doesn't want to give.
He does
Bond,
the man thing, doesn't he?
He doesn't want to give Bond the victory in this case. He's just like, yeah, fuck it. I'll just destroy this tank with this train, even if it
I think he's hoping to kill Bond in the process, maybe.
he wouldn't
like,
think Bond's just gonna sit in the tank, is he?
Yeah, I know that's like really dumb, but like I'm grasping at straws here. So like
When you make the point that he doesn't really have any choice other than, I mean, he does like the villain thing, which is all right. Yeah, let's fucking
I think it's just to also try and make him look crazy. Like
Yeah. But when you put it that, there isn't really much else he can do in that situation, is there?
yeah.
Although he
Yeah.
does have a helicopter on board, he could have just took off straight away. But
I think
It might have been a bit.
I really
You don't want to get gunned down like Bond and shooting down helicopters. He's apparently
you can't really. As I've learned in all my time playing War Thunder, it's extremely difficult to do that from a tank. So
of course. But
so,
what I'm now the bit I hate, but it also gives a little interesting window into like, because with Bond you have this expectation that okay, secret agent, he's bedding all the girls and stuff, but actually that's kind of exclusive to Bond because 006 tries it on with her and completely
it's like literally this is literally the meme where it's like Riz versus sexual harassment.
And it's very, very what's the word? It's just uncomfortable to watch. But then again, it's kind of like if you look beyond that, you kind of go, well, actually, yeah, that is realistically what would happen.
The thing is, though,
most people,
even in this film, like Bond does that a couple times, and it's like uncomfortable, but it's fine because it's the hero.
I mean, Sean Bean always go, do you want to know how I got these scars? It's like
yeah, literally.
But yeah,
he did a Heath Ledger tribute.
by the way,
20 years prior.
there's a really interesting, quite good little deleted scene actually around this time in this part of the film.
Oh yeah,
where it's a shame they cut it, but it's actually a bit where you see the train going along before this action happens, so it's like moving into place.
Oh, okay.
And then it's like there's a scene where Arumov and Boris are in a room, and Boris is like, and this is the only interaction that you see these two have. Um, um, and so like Boris is in there doing some code on the computer, which Natalia, you can find it on YouTube, like
Yeah, well, yeah.
which Natalia uses later, and then Arunv comes in and is like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm looking for bugs," and then he's like, "I crush bugs," and then but they have like the similar disdain for each other that like Alec Trevelyan and Boris have later,
Huh.
but he's like, and then Boris is like, "And probably eat them," and then he's like
Yeah.
saying, and then Arumov's like, "You have to go to Cuba," and he's like, "You leave tonight," and then he was like, and he pulls out his watch and he's like, and in 72 hours we'll see if I have to call an exterminator, and then he just like looks really threateningly at what's his name, Boris. So
Yeah.
like
Really? Oh, that's quite cool.
it's like
One
it's
thing-
like a it's like a joke about the bugs and everything, which
Yeah,
is
one thing that I don't get though is like, so he would be on the train with Armov, right, in this scene.
Boris, yeah, because
Yeah.
this is taking place before Boris leaves to Cuba.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
next
yeah,
time
yeah.
we see him.
So I guess there must have been quite a bit of time between this and then.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
They
mean,
don't do
it's
that
not.
very well in this film. They don't show the passing of time very effectively because obviously, I mean, again, if we go back to when the Natalia's place of work gets
Yeah,
destroyed, that's also there's a huge passing of time there which they don't. I kind of realized it now when I'm talking about it because Bond gets to MI6 after watching that Tiger helicopter disappear. So there must have been actually quite a significant period of time passing there. So but anyway. So Bond gets in the train. I forget how. Oh, is it just
Probably
in
took
amidst the
Ruth.
chaos? He sneaks on while they're all down, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
that's-
then very interesting kind of. And then he calls his bluff like, yeah, she means nothing to me. And then you go, oh yeah, she tastes of strawberries. It's like,
yeah. It's like,
I love how
who wrote this?
I
Like,
love. It's quite funny though because it makes him look like 006
he's trying to be
compared
like, oh yeah, like he's trying to show off, like, yeah,
He's-
I tapped her, and then Bond's like, I wouldn't know. So it's kind of like, well,
I
fuck
love
you.
how-
I don't
no,
care.
no, it's
I
like
love
I
how-
says, oh, I wouldn't know. He's like, oh, I would.
exactly like
Exactly, yeah.
He's trying to be like Andrew Tate or something.
Yeah. 006 trying to like upstage Bond for once because you can imagine you can kind of imagine like the history between them. That they go on a mission, then Bond's telling him all about, oh yeah, then we did this, and then oh yeah, and then like you can almost imagine that like 006 is like pissed off like, oh, why don't I ever get any of the girls, and then this is his chance to be like, oh yeah, and then Bond just goes, ha, don't care, mate, basically.
Yeah, you're
That is
being
quite
at
funny,
gunpoint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look at it a bit. Anyway, they get away and leave Bond with a 6-minute timer, which is actually
Yeah,
3.
the same 6 minutes that you gave me. And
Yeah.
then he's like, what? When like I was like, yeah, what's that mean? And he's like, for those who weren't paying attention in the audience, that means it's 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
they have to spell things out to the audience like that. Which is
I don't think they do that too much in this film. I don't think this. I mean, that is the biggest example, but I didn't mind that too much actually.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. It's just a very like
Yeah. But anyway, they do escape. Fortunately.
yeah, using Bond's later watch, which is probably a fan favorite gadget from GoldenEye.
And what's good is that Natalia, you get to see Natalia use her skills as well, which is
Yeah,
great.
she's
Again, it just makes her
doxing
more of a
Boris.
real. She's not just this damsel in distress. She's actually barking orders at Bond, and that's really cool. I think that's really great. Actually, she's like bossing him around while she's actually doing something useful.
This
She's
is where
tracking-
what he's like. He says yes, sir, to her a couple times.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is. I think that must have been a continuation on from License to Kill. So, because he says yes, sir.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
once or twice
it's
to
Pam Bouvier, yeah.
like in a joking sort of way.
oh yeah, but it's much better done here.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
So
evolution.
then, yeah, and what I like is that Bond is the one who's like keen to get the fuck out, and she's actually the one like, no, wait 1 second, like I think that's really like.
Hanging around trying to find his exact address here.
Yeah, Bond's just like let's just get out of here, and she's actually the fearless one actually in this, which is an interesting kind of turn. Anyway, so then they get
Yeah,
out, and
she has a great line there as
Yeah.
well, which I think is quite funny. It's like, do you like blow up every vehicle you get into?
yeah,
Because
Well,
like it's a good question.
She's
that's
like,
what's good about her character as well. She's almost like us in the film in a way, which is really what all Bond women not should be, but it's just surprising they haven't done that
Yeah, because
more
like she is
effectively
quite
before.
useful in this way to like also like kind of give him a reality check to not. He's
Yeah.
like Bond is kind of almost like a balloon, and she's like keeping him down a little bit, like just to make sure he
They've
doesn't
got a
fly
good.
up.
They've got
She's
good
she,
chemistry.
you could she's basically immune to death at this point. So like
Yeah,
it's
exactly. Because she's literally like been through some pretty traumatic stuff already. So
Yeah.
she's kind of like not got nothing to lose, but she's definitely you can see her character development, which is good. Anyway, so they kind of fall into each other's arms. I can't remember if did they kiss at that point afterwards.
No idea.
In in the aftermath of the explosion, they
I
kind of
think
fall into
probably.
each other's
Yeah,
arms,
they do,
but I
'cause,
can't
like,
remember if they actually.
Oh yeah, are there any other? Yeah, because like Bond says like in response to her like saying, "Oh yeah, you blow up every like thing you get into," and he's like, "Oh, standard operating procedure." And
Yeah.
it's like, "Oh yeah, are there any other operating procedures I should know?" So oh yeah, thousands, but only paying lip service.
Oh yeah, that's
Shut
good. That's good.
Yeah.
And it's believable. I think at that point they would fall. It's not like I don't know. I'm trying to think of another example where they just instantly
Yeah, there's a
and
film
for your eyes only or
begins with
something
an
like.
begins with an S,
No, not that. I'm thinking for your eyes only. I'm thinking of previous. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So then and then they drive to Cuba. So very
Yeah,
big
the
change of
only time you get
scenery.
to see his gadget-laden BMW, and
Yeah, they really wasted that. It's a bit of a weird Bond car. It's too colourful, isn't it? Or
it's also weird the fact that he's driving BMWs now. Like,
I don't mind that. I don't mind that. I mean, it's
Right, for
certainly an Aston Martin would have looked very out of place. They needed a bit more an exotic car, not exotic, but just
yeah, with the Aston would
flashy,
be
I
out there,
suppose.
yeah. But like, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't have to be an Aston Martin DB5, but I guess Pierce Brosnan does get his Aston Martin, so eventually.
Oh, he certainly does. But anyway, before then,
Generally people's like most hated car in Bond.
you really just you really. I cannot wait for that episode.
It's so funny, like just like talking about like Die Another Day, because it's just like people hate it so much.
I can't wait for that episode, but I'm gonna keep my powder dry. So anyway, they're in Cuba. They're driving around. We
Jack
meet
Wade flies in.
yeah. Couldn't wait to see him again.
It's
So
quite
yeah.
funny
Although,
though how
in this scene he's not so bad, I suppose. He's like
yeah, because like because he's playing off like with Natalia, because like
Mm.
she's like, oh yeah, well actually this satellite dish does exist. No, it's like a copy of your ones down in New Zealand, and he's like, oh, well, I've been to New Zealand. He's like, how does she know about that?
Yeah.
quite funny. He's I don't know, like
He's okay in this scene.
I wish they'd done a bit more like jokey comedy stuff with him, because
Even
like
more?
he doesn't really
No.
sell. He's like only a little. I know it's like a big stretch, but he's like not that much better in terms of competency than like J.W. Pepper. Really, he's like
No, I agree. But I mean, at least he brings him the plane. I mean, he does the handover sort of thing.
He literally basically might as well be Bond's valet at this point.
nearly kills them with it. Like when he
Yeah.
And I suppose, yeah, if I'm being like a bit generous, it's better that they did this than another Felix Leiter. They kind of had to do something a bit
Yeah.
different at this point, especially after License to Kill. You can't have him rocking up in his wheelchair, whatever, can you? So,
Yeah. Rocks up with like a peg leg, like he's like it's a hook.
I suppose Jack Wade's not so bad, but anyway,
Yeah.
I just kind of wish it was different acts, or I don't know what I want with that. But anyway, so they're flying around. They're looking for this is just basically rips off You Only Live Twice. So, we've
So where is it? Is it under this body of water, perhaps?
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like so predictable. We've already seen this in as well. The Spy Love Me. It's like really predictable. Like just it's so predictable it hurts, man. But
I guess this is like for people who haven't seen a Bond film before, I guess. But also, yeah, do we really want to talk much about the fight he has with Xenia? Like, it's like,
well, yeah, because their plane gets shot down, and then
I think like though it's quite
Yeah.
interesting because they would have like gotten away with it, the villains, if like they didn't fire a missile at Bond when he went over the second
Yeah.
time. So they would just
maybe it's like a
there,
false mason system.
it literally goes maybe, but they literally say maybe there is no dish, and then they just get shot at, which proves them. Yeah.
well, they probably Bond was quite lucky to escape that, wasn't he? So
Yeah, honestly.
But yeah, I'm now thinking if you took Xenia out of this film completely, would it change? Not really. Would it improve the film? Yes. I mean, if you have Aruminov mowing
Yeah.
down those guys and then, they just kill the Admiral or don't even have the Admiral in there full stop. I mean,
Yeah.
she's just more or less like scary eye candy, more or less. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, she gets dispatched.
Yeah. Who would you have Oromov in the at Ferrari then at the beginning?
Yeah, well,
You have Boris. You have all three of them like joyriding in there.
yeah.
Can you imagine that now?
I don't know what you could do. Like, I mean, and what's the one-liner?
just
Oh,
delete
she
that
always
scene.
enjoyed a good squeeze. It's like, oh, all right, great.
Yeah. Thanks, Bond. Yeah. Like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. So they just go down to the villain lair.
And I
basically.
like, but before I quite like. I mean, I don't often talk about costume design much, but I do appreciate Natalia's kind of. She's wearing quite tactical outfits. Nothing like, I bet they would take. I mean, in previous and certainly in future,
Oh, yeah.
it's not like a skin tight, leather clad Catwoman or something like very showing off anything. It is very like tactical sort of. I mean, she still looks good, but it's not
Yeah.
like overdoing it. If you know what
I
I mean.
I like how she tries to help Bond out against
Yeah.
Xenia as well. And like she must be like way more relieved than Bond when Xenia's dead because she's the one who killed like all her friends and
Do
stuff.
you know what would have been great if you had Natalia kill Xenia?
Yeah,
That would-
honestly.
Yeah.
She like stabs her or something like that.
Or
Would
just
have been
shoots her,
great.
you know.
That'd have been very satisfying.
Yeah.
They should have done that.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't have been able to pull off the pun, you know.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it's probably done for that stupid. Yeah.
Anyway, and then surprise, surprise, the base emerges from the lake, which is
Well,
something
rather
we
lake,
definitely
it's-
haven't seen before.
Yeah, actually, come think of it, when all that water drains down into the base, how the fuck do they fill it back up again?
Don't
Probably
know.
costs a
Maybe they
lot.
weren't planning to, and this is just like a single purpose thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's have
guess.
to.
Well,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, imagine like, if you got like, a bunch of cars and you're driving around on that, that'd be pretty good fun.
Yeah, so then Bond, they sneak into the base. Bond plants
Slide down.
some mines. Oh yeah, that's right. Bond plants some mines.
Yeah,
Again,
Natalia does some hacking, does a little bit of trolling.
that's right. Updates the Facebook, and then updates the Facebook relationship status to it's complicated or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Bond then meets 006 once again. They're reunited.
Yeah, because I love it as well. Because like he's got all the gadgets out on the table, and he's like, "Oh yeah, really like this one." Cue back up to his old tricks, and he
Still
has
press
like.
Great bit of world building there as well.
I
It's
love
really
it. They compare the watches, and he's like, "Oh yeah, is it still this button?" He turns off the mine,
yeah,
which is
that's
great. I think.
Can you imagine if like it was like a different model and that was like the explode button or something?
Yeah,
Just-
yeah. But that would happen as well. That would if there was a defected agent or whatever, he would know all the gadgets and he'd be like, yeah, okay. And that's something that Q has to obviously be aware of. He has to keep updated with all this technology. So that's how he missed the pen, for example. But
this is some now that you say that, I think this is something that is maybe a slightly missed opportunity in Skyfall that they could have done.
Okay.
I
I'm
really
not sure what you're referring to there, but yeah, we'll get.
We'll get to it.
Oh yeah. Oh okay. Well, you do get a bit of that in Skyfall, but anyway.
I really like the tension in this scene. Like,
yes.
When
brilliant.
when the button gets clicked by like Boris, who can like swirl it in one hand.
Oh yeah, I honestly, I actually counted the amount of times like that pen was clicked throughout the entire film, assuming you would use that as a question. Yeah. So 34 times.
I
some
think
of them
the
were
point of the film is you're not meant to be able to keep count of it because Bond is trying to, and you as an audience member obviously are. But then some of the clicks happen off screen, and then and he's just I think that's great. I've never been able to keep track of how many there are.
And I love the bit where like Natalia sees Boris again for like a long.
Yes, that's great.
Yeah, she slaps him, man. Like and like she like beats the shit out of him. He's like on the floor, man.
And he's wearing his shorts and stuff, isn't he? Like,
yeah.
And like Alec Trevelyan is like,
Perfect.
yeah, go on, like.
Yeah, man.
And he must be shocked because she's turned into such a badass now. Whereas
yeah, man.
He must be like, whoa, what is happening here?
Yeah, as well. Like they really, solidify because he's kind of Boris is mainly a comedic character, but they do have to remind you that he's kind of a piece of shit because like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he even goes to like punch her while she's
Yeah,
being,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
held,
They sell that really well.
like
And
you know.
do you know what I hate though? The fact that everyone hates on the exploding pen. Everyone like takes the piss out of it as like the ultimate ridiculous Bond
Yeah,
gadget.
how is that ridiculous?
No, I think it and the
Yeah, I
way
never
they
understand
and
that.
more specific, the way they deploy it is perfect. Like
Yeah.
how does that not work? It's fine.
Yeah, yeah, because like I like how they established it prior, because like you always see him with a pen, like it's swinging
Right,
around.
right. And
Uh,
I bet I'm not the only one who at school was sat there like with a pen trying to be him, you know, like
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I actually do that a lot in my
yeah, yeah, of course, man.
It's
We all
just
do.
it's just out of habit, but I think it must have been triggered by this film.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the pen does eventually explode.
Yeah, well, Bond knocks it away so they don't all get their heads taken off.
I love the like the tension, like with the quick cuts between like all the different characters looking at
Yeah, it's great.
bosses.
And Bond is the only one who knows what's going on, and obviously the audience as well, which makes it even more
Yeah,
exciting.
just like the things I don't get is because I mean, I assume this pen must have been quite new because Q had to actually tell them about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 006 wouldn't really know what it does. Maybe he's thinking like, oh, what's the
Oh
guy
no,
do?
he wouldn't. I think. Although surely he would be like, yeah, this pen on Bond. He's not really signing any autographs, is he? Why has he got this on him? You know, like.
Yeah, maybe
bit-
But I
like
think, but no, it actually makes sense because he puts them all on the table. Then Boris probably just picks it up out of habit. He
yeah,
just
he does. He
sees a
picks it
pen,
up.
you know.
I
He
love the
gets,
bit
gets
when
knocked to the ground. So
In 2023 or maybe 2017, he would be having a fidget spinner instead, wouldn't he?
yeah,
There'd be the
yeah,
exploding
100%.
fidget spinner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'd really, I don't know, it's
Quit
just
Bond with that.
it's so good, like how
Stressful, which like is C4 as well, you know.
they like
You
they
gotta be
man
stressed enough.
they managed to like show like Boris's nerves like as well as he's trying to program with one hand.
That's right.
And when he
Oh yeah, yeah, it's
when
great.
he drops the pen, when
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yep, very good. And
Yeah,
obviously
well,
Natalia gets a little revenge on Bond as well, where he's at gunpoint. So I don't care about him, you know. She's
yeah.
good. Oh, we did skip over a scene. I mean, for the right reasons, I think. But there was this bit on the beach in Cuba when they're like having their romantic bit.
Yeah, yeah, like Bond is just like a complete like this is just like because Bond actually as a character is I mean basically what they do is they take the positive traits of a psychopath and give it to Bond, and then what makes them successful, then they
Yeah.
give all the negative ones to the villain.
Yeah.
Like he's literally like, oh well, you know, it's what keeps me alive, and I'm like, you know,
Very cringe.
yeah,
They
yeah,
did that
and
a
then,
lot
like,
better with Daniel Craig, didn't they?
yeah,
I think
yeah.
this is like again, it's like this is Pierce Brosnan crawling so Daniel Craig can walk a little bit.
I think
To be
I
honest.
think
it's like a
like
hobble.
Natalia says like the deepest line like just randomly
Yeah, it's what
in the
keeps you
midst.
alone.
No. She's like, all the heroes I know are dead, and it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's real for that, man. It's like, yeah, she's real, man.
Yeah,
Like,
that's why I feel there's a bit of a disconnect between Pierce Brosnan's Bond in this and her, because like
yeah, true.
it's almost like I kind of appreciate her more than Bond in this. Like,
It would have been better with Timothy Dalton.
yeah, it would have been. Should cast him in every film. Yeah, cast
it's
him
an
as a new
interesting
Bond, even
one.
though
I
it's like
I
80.
think I think their chemistry is quite good, but yeah, Timothy Dalton honestly probably would have been a bit better for those particular scenes.
Man, yeah, as well. I mean, this is.
But I think Pierce Brosnan is fine. I don't
Yeah,
really
he's
sit there
not.
and go,
Pierce
"Ah."
Brosnan isn't bad in this. I have to say, this is just something. I mean,
It's
'cause
just the
this
writing I think lets him down
This is
again.
this is the only appropriate film to talk about, because obviously Timothy Dalton isn't Bond in this. They had
Yeah.
offered him to, but after 6 years of all these like legal disputes, which had delayed basically them making any films, he literally just made like the decision to. He's like, yeah, I'm kind of done with Bond. I'm gonna go back to the theater. You know,
That's
I
a
think-
shame.
my
But
people need me.
I think like, do you know actually I was gonna make that one of the quiz questions. Like if I was thinking about it, like what year did Timothy Dalton leave the role? But like I think that would have favoured Henry too much.
no,
So,
it
like,
was not everyone. I knew it was 94 as well.
No, I didn't.
I just wow.
Okay, there you go. So
Lucky
anyway.
for you.
Yeah,
So
didn't know
anyway,
how
so
this
this
contract
all
was.
basically climaxes in 006 versus 007, which
Yeah,
is
great little
what we're
bit.
all waiting for.
This
And
is-
this is great.
This is probably the best part of the soundtrack, I think. This is
Yeah,
Yeah.
the music's
this is
good.
I'm glad they nailed it at least for this bit.
Yeah.
This and the tank chase.
And they've both got AK-47s, which is you can't go wrong with that weapon, can you?
Yeah.
And yeah, they're like going after each other. Like and you know, and like I said, it's well choreographed.
Yeah,
Well,
as well
it's
as the fact that,
actually
like,
choreographed, which is
yeah. At the start, like Bond's, he manages to throw him down the stairs and even shoots him. And like he's sneaking around afterwards, and he's trying to figure out if he's like still around. He hears
Yeah.
someone drop something, and he doesn't know where it is. So
yeah. And
it's
what I
like
like as well,
quite
because
tense.
there's the bit where 006 has him at at gunpoint.
Bond's point.
Yeah, he has him at gunpoint, and he obviously, you know, everyone usually would go, "Oh, just shoot him," but no, you can imagine how long 006 has been waiting for this moment, and he's been like dreaming of what he would say, and you know, so he's obviously relishing that exact moment. I think at
I
that
was
point he doesn't even
always
care about the
better.
whole GoldenEye thing. He's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like,
This
this
is
is my
really
moment now.
yeah. Because Bond also has already roasted his plans. He's like got this
Yeah.
elaborate scheme. He's like, oh, well, this actually just boils down to a petty thing.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
right.
I think
He's
like
just like really living.
Yeah,
he would rather like have the opportunity to personally kill Blonde and gloat over it rather than like his
Yeah.
like getting rich scheme.
I
whatever.
agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
he's like, oh,
I mean, that's really good about 006, and Sean Bean as well. It's just he's like just extreme, has this extreme inferiority complex around 007,
Yeah.
as you probably would. That's what makes it real,
Yeah.
you know. It's like, yeah, that
that's
adds
what
up.
makes him a good villain, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, he even has to reference Freud at some point, so I don't know if you noticed
Yeah.
that, Tom. But
Yeah.
But then anyway, so and then they like Bond goes down the ladder, which looks extremely painful.
yeah,
I mean, that would have surely like like almost pulled his arm out of his socket, man, when that stopped.
The bit where you like see him like cling on with one hand, and then you see the boot from
Oh.
like Alec Trevelyan. Is like, wow,
Oh,
that
that's
works.
great, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah,
I think this fight is very good. I mean, yeah, the fight's great actually. I mean, I can't really complain at all. And I mean, it's just a little bit like, okay, the way it changes hands is very quick, but then you know why not? And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden Bond has Alec there, and it's a great line actually. I was slagging it
yeah,
off
because it's
earlier, but
holding
when he
him
goes,
like this is
it
like
does become personal,
he has the
doesn't it? It's like,
reverse. This is like the reverse Necros death. Because I always remembered it as Bond holding the boot by the end of it, but he actually just drops him.
yeah, it's great because he goes, you know, for England, James. No, for me. That's a cold line, man. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, also that's how he does, save Bond's bacon again, because
Yes.
he, 006 has called up the chopper, and
Alpha wants
Natalia's already gone on
gunship.
it. Yeah, Alpha wanted gunship. Come here, please.
I think that was. I mean, okay. How else do you get Bond out of that situation? You know, there's no other way than like a chopper come picks him up.
Yeah.
I suppose, yeah, it adds up. But I thought I just that's kind of a bit I kind of, I'm not paying attention to that so much. So I
Yeah, as
take
well
it
as
away
like,
from it.
the thing that I don't get
He
is
does this
gets-
great big leap onto it and just can't. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, I mean, wouldn't he like try to go up into it, or like he's just like holding there the whole time, like after this fight as well?
Yeah. Anyway, and Sean Bean as well. Should add, he doesn't actually fall to his death. He's
Yeah.
still like probably paralyzed,
Yeah,
But
you've got like you've got as well like it transitions from that to Boris screaming as like the fucking
yeah,
GoldenEye itself is like. We also forgot to mention like before 006 goes up to fight Bond, he
Oh,
like
yeah. He leaves
he, like
someone.
tells this
Yeah.
guy like, oh yeah, if he moves, kill him, which is actually this actually not from the film. It's footage of James editing these videos on time.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, for
anyway,
sure.
he
Yeah, me at like
it's just a good bit.
7:39 exporting the file, on Sunday night.
Yeah. This is like this is literally this is probably like I think maybe like the thing that I remember about this film most. I think it's probably the funniest. The fact that like Boris somehow survives like the actual
Oh, yeah.
satellite collapsing on everyone. He's like the last one alive, and he's like it's like almost he's having the same thing that Natalia had at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes, I'm invincible, and then gets covered in like liquid nitrogen and frozen in that position.
What a great villain
It's
death,
amazing death.
So
yeah.
funny.
Perfect. Everyone loves that, don't they?
I almost wish he like survived like somehow.
But maybe
like,
he did survive. Maybe he's like just cryogenically frozen and they like thaw him out like in Star Wars and then he like becomes the head of KGB or something.
Yeah, new Bond villain, perhaps.
Yeah, why not, man? Do like a multiverse Bond,
Yeah, it should be like.
Could you imagine that?
Yeah.
Anyway, So Boris is indeed killed in spectacular fashion. And then, so Bond and Natalia, they kind of fall into each other's arms. They're having a nice moment in the field. I like that there's no... I mean, they could have done it, but I think it's out of respect to 006 that they don't have a fourth act. Because can you imagine... I bet they were tempted to make Xenia a fourth act, and thank God they didn't.
Yeah, that'd be a way to end the film.
When did Runov die, actually? I'm just trying to
He
remember.
died in the train. He was,
Yeah,
Train.
Bond just shot him.
Oh, Bond shoots him, that's right.
he was the
Okay.
first villain to die. He dies very early, actually.
He does that halfway through the film, and then
Fair enough.
yeah, the whole thing is like, oh yeah, it's known for 25 miles, and then
Yes.
yeah, this is another trope of the Americans turning up late.
Yeah, and this is something that didn't age well. He like name drops Guantanamo, so
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
like because he's like, oh yeah, I guess you two can tell me about it, Guantanamo, and I'm like,
yeah, we're
obviously
just
pre-
taking over the survivors to torture them there. You know.
yeah, pre 9/11 before like they could torture people definitely, like
Yeah,
it means something completely different now. This
yeah.
is like
literally.
this is like almost as bad as like the
before the
Majestic.
world lost its innocence. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is literally like shades
Yeah.
of like Living Daylights, that sort of thing.
I think it's a nice ending, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very nice ending. It's like a feel-good ending, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
I like that. So yeah, that was GoldenEye. Actually,
Yeah.
quite good now that I look back on it, having reviewed it. I'm like, yeah, this is.
It's pretty good. It's just a shame
It's pretty
about
good. It's not like the best Bond film, but it's certainly. You know.
It's a shame that it was held back by the writing and the soundtrack, I think.
Yeah, literally, if you just improve those two things, you've got a great film. And
I think
do
it's-
something different with Xenia's character or get rid of her entirely. I think you've got a very, very good film on your hands,
Yeah.
actually.
Right, so now moving on to the
Yes,
ranking.
this is going to be interesting.
We have a new Bond actor. So currently it is number 1, Sean Connery, number 2, Timothy Dalton, number 3, Roger Moore, and number 4, George Lazenby. Where are we putting Pierce Brosnan's Bond?
I think he goes the bottom, in my opinion.
Even below
Because
George Lazenby.
George Lazenby isn't that bad, I think, because like the thing I don't really like Pierce Brosnan. Like the thing is with Pierce Brosnan that I don't like that he did to Bond is like when you mentioned the AK-47, like I think these 4 films he became like too much of like an all guns blazing like juggernaut kind of James Bond.
Yeah.
And like
I think that, you know what,
the-
now you've just made me realize what this is influenced by. This is like, I'm just remembering, this is like prime Rambo, Arnold Schwarzenegger era, you know? So, like, of course that explains why it's like shifted towards that. That makes so much more sense now you said that, yeah.
and
Yeah.
he does
I mean,
like
as well.
he doesn't do much spy work compared to the other Bonds.
Of course, that's out the window by this point, isn't it?
So
I think.
I don't think.
Yeah. I would.
No,
put
I
it-
mean, I'm very much of the opinion that there isn't a bad Bond.
Yeah, same.
So,
yeah, I mean,
with that in mind, I probably would. I mean, someone has to go bottom, unfortunately. And in this case, I do agree with Tom where I would put Pierce Brosnan 5th. But
I don't know.
I don't dislike. That's not because he's bad. It's just I think he does suffer from poor writing.
I would
and-
personally, for this film, I might consider putting him bottom, but I don't think he'll stay there because one thing I think he does do well is that, which George Lazenby doesn't. George Lazenby is like too human to be Bond.
Actually, maybe he should go above George Lazenby.
I don't know.
George
George Lazenby's like benefits from like an excellent film, which Pierce Brosnan never had.
I think
So. Yeah, maybe Pierce Brosnan. If
I
we
think
give him the
the
benefit of the doubt, he should
best-
go above George
the
Lazenby.
best
Not
quality
for
of-
this film.
yeah, maybe not for this one, but I think the best quality of Brosnan's Bond is that he can really flip on like a on a dime, you could say.
Yeah, he can do a bit of everything.
He really can. He's like the jack of all trades but master of none.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
He doesn't. It's the fact that he can switch from being charming
Now I
to
want to
like.
ask you two. Why do you think? Why do you not think this is? Do you not think this is his best Bond film?
It's tough. I'll have to
between-
see.
Because you're saying, okay, he's 5th now, but he would go up to 4th. What do you have in mind when you say that?
Maybe Tomorrow
Particularly.
Never Dies because he
It's
has
not
very
about his. It's not about his film. It's about him as his performance.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. But at what point would you have in mind of putting him 4th? After what film?
Possibly Tomorrow Never Dies. I genuinely will have to see because I haven't seen the Brosnan Bond films in ages.
Interesting.
I think because he has good chemistry with her name, Paris Carver, and he has a bit more. I don't know, a bit more dimension in that. I think.
I think actually I would revise. I think I put him fourth now. Now
Yeah.
we've discussed it.
It's tough. I think he will probably stay fifth for now because his writing was. I mean, it's not his fault,
Yeah.
but the writing is so poor that his Bond portrayal is like you can't divorce the two, kind of.
I don't think he was
That's
that
true.
believable in fights generally in that whole.
I think he. Well, yeah, that's
His
where we
fight
disagree.
his fight with 006 was great, but it's just the fact that like it's like it's literally the thing. It's like kind of it feels like it's almost like you're watching a cutscene in like a video game. The fact like you got like 50 people shooting at him and like none of them can hit him. It's like it
Yeah.
does take you out of it a bit. It's like in the best example I can remember from a film that we have done before, James, is in The Dark Knight Rises, where like he's fighting like loads of Bane's hitmen and they're like waiting their turn to be punched. when
Yeah, of
with a
course.
gun in their
Well,
hand.
that's just like in any action film, really.
I know it's just like I don't like when that's the case. I mean, like you mentioned in License to Kill, when it's kind of believable that the hitman couldn't hit him with like an Uzi from like
I mean,
50
the classic for that, the ultimate, that's the Stormtroopers, right? So you know. It's
Yeah, true. Well, that's what they call it,
one of those things.
Stormtrooper aim.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
we've got so currently he's now below George Lazenby in fifth place, I think. Everyone.
Mhm.
No, I don't. I think you should go fourth. But if you're planning to put fourth late, then it's fine.
We'll see how this goes.
Okay. All right.
That's it for now.
This is the thing. Just to finish on that, I think Pierce Brosnan for me is every criticism I have of his Bond isn't really his fault, and I feel sorry for him for that reason.
Yeah, because I think
it's almost like the reverse George Lazenby. George Lazenby just got quite lucky, actually. He just shat a golden egg, really. Whereas, you know,
yeah, Brosnan
Brosnan.
Brosnan really was born to be Bond. Like
yeah,
out of all
exactly.
of these
And I
actors.
think he suffered from all the expectation on him. You know, not him. I don't think he suffered, but like the writers and stuff just thought, oh yeah, we've got like,
man, the writers really merged him in this film. Like honestly, when
Exactly.
it could have been. Anyway.
Yep.
So moving on to the Bond girl.
Yes.
I don't think I have
You
to
can
go
just read
far
out the
down
top
this list.
5, I think, for this.
Yeah. So the top 5, because I don't want to read the rest of these, is number 1, Tracy. Number 2, Cara. Number 3, Agent Triple X. Number 4, Domino. Number 5, Holly Goodhead.
Well, yeah, there's like a clear dotted line above Triple X, isn't there? Yeah, she's got to go second easily, right?
I think
No
Domino.
complaints here.
I think Natalia, but I think Domino should like be moved above Triple X. Maybe.
Yeah, just because she shot a harpoon. Wow.
Where is Domino?
Domino is currently 4th, below Triple X.
Well, that's fine then. Yeah,
And
I
above
thought
Holly
she was like 14th or something. Yeah, Natalia's second, easy
Yeah.
with a bullet.
Natalia.
I'll be
All right.
surprised if she gets dethroned as well. Actually.
Right, so below Tracy and above Cara. So in second place, it's bad. Now villain. Number 1, Max Zorin. Number 2, Blofeld Donald Pleasance. Number 3, Goldfinger. Number 4, Blofeld Tony for Savalas. Number 5, Franz Sanchez. Number 6, Hugo Drax. Number 7, Francisco Scaramanga. Number 8, Kamal Khan and Orlov. Number 9, Dr. Kananga. Number 10, Dr. No. Number 11, Rosa Klebb. Number 12, Largo. Number 13, Strongberg. Number 14, Koskov and Whitaker. Number 15, Christasos. Number 17, Blofeld from Never Say Never Again. And number 17, Blofeld, played by Charles Gray.
You know, Henry. Now I realise what you said. Now we really overrated Blofelds, man.
It's when I realised I was like, actually,
because Sean Bean should obviously go above Donald Pleasance, but then he shouldn't be second either. You know. But anyway,
I think
we made our bed. So
at the very end of this war,
where would you two put Sean Bean? I'm really not sure where I put 006. Actually, I have no idea. He could go second. He could go like 8th. I'm not really sure.
It's tough. I mean, again, he does suffer a bit from his writing, but not too much.
Yeah, not as much as Bond.
And they do
put him above Franz Sanchez. I think that's about right. 5th, I think.
What do you think?
I don't
I'd
think
probably agree with you.
I don't think he's that high, really. I think he's like the thing is he doesn't really have like, other than his like rivalry with Bond, he doesn't have that much that makes him stand out in a way that like, I don't know, like you don't see as much. You only see a lot of him at the end. I'm actually a bit surprised reflecting like how you don't see him that much throughout the film.
Yeah, because they saved him as being like a plot twist, didn't they?
Yeah, so like
we've seen it so many times it's lost effect, but with the first time you see, I suppose it's like
it's a bit like, it's a bit unfortunate because it's retrospective from all these other plot twists, but like I think other than his like plot twist, it's not like he's not that great in my opinion. He's good for what he needs to do.
So who do you
but
put him below, for example?
Can you like read out like around the middle of that list?
All right. Well, we've got 5 Fran Sanchez, number 6 Hugo Drax, number 7 Scaramanga, number 8 Kamal Khan and Orlov, number 9 Dr. Kananga. Do you want to go further?
He's
I
got to
th-
go above all of them, I think.
I think he'd go at least below Scaramanga. Like Scaramanga was great.
All right, well, it's up to you, Henry. What do you
I know
think?
he's played by Christopher Lee, but I think Sean Bean does a better kind of equal to Bond than Christopher Lee does easily.
I think, but the thing is,
Well,
with
Christopher Lee's about the assassin side rather than the
he
agent.
Yeah.
he carries the film.
Yeah,
like,
but it doesn't save the film. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the film. We're talking about the villain and the
I
story.
know.
So where would
still-
you rank him, Henry? Just to hurry.
I would honestly, even though I love License to Kill, I would agree with you that he's better than Fran Sanchez.
Yeah.
All right.
So I would put him. I mean, we both agree on that. So
Oh, yeah, for sure.
it's on.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
006 because I'm not gonna write out
Yeah.
Alec Trevelyan. Right.
Rubbish
so-
name, by the way, Alec Trevelyan. That's like a bad Bond villain name. It's certainly not like Max Zorin or Hugo Drax. Like cool
Yeah.
names, you know. Alec
So,
Trevelyan, that's
above-
such a mouthful.
Above Fran Sanchez and below Blofeld, Telly Savalas.
Yep. Okay.
Henchman. Do we want to put Xenia on this list?
We've got loads of henchmen. We've got Xenia, Boris, and Arumanov.
I think
Arumov's more like a co-villain sort of thing.
Yeah,
rather
he's like a co-villain, not
Who?
really a henchman.
than-
Oromov.
Arumov. He's not henchman really.
No way. Sean Bean's the main villain.
Yeah, but like
He's-
He's not a
He's clo-
henchman, but he's certainly more of that than he has to go in one of the two, and I think he
he
falls
goes-
more into the henchman category. That's all I'm
think
saying.
I think he goes close to main villain than henchman, but whatever. I think Boris. We should. I don't know if we're gonna put Xenia. I don't know, but I think Boris would do better than her in this.
yeah,
I think we should just group them all together because, all right, yes, we all know Xenia's not good, but the other two are. So I think
Yeah.
everyone
All right,
accepts
so
that.
I'll just
So
read
what's the
out
list?
while you two think about this. Number 1, Jaws. Number 2, Oddjob. Number 3, Red Grant. Number 4, Necros. Number 5, Mayday. Number 6, Gobbler and the Twins. Number 7, Tiki and Co. 8 is Bun. 9 is Dario. 10 is Locke and Eric. 11, Winton Kid. 12, Nick Nack. Number 13, Fiona. And 14, Hans. So,
Mm,
I think they go below Teehee and Co because they're very memorable.
I'd put them below, above Mayday, honestly.
yeah, I was
Nah.
thinking around Mayday. I think. Oh, Boris
just
is
like-
really good. Arumanov is pretty good. Xenia's bad. So yeah, I think yeah.
I think
I'd
Arumov's
be happy
quite
above or
average.
below Mayday. Honestly, you can go with whatever you think is right there.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm very just censoring Xenia out of my mind. I'm just thinking about
Yeah.
like the last freeze frame, literally of.
Unfortunately, she is kind of the main henchwoman though. So yeah,
we'll
I
put
think
in-
yeah, maybe below Mayday actually. All of them.
All right,
Mayday's really good, man.
Mayday is very good to be fair. Right, and we are in agreement on this. I would probably agree with the Mayday pick here, below Mayday.
Okay.
Well then, yeah, I guess it has to go below that.
Okay, so Boris, Xenia, and Oromov.
Yep. So where are they?
below-
What's that? Number 6?
Yeah, 6 below Mayday and above Gobbler and the Twins.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Right, now the car/vehicle. Do we...
The tank, surely.
BMW doesn't count in this.
No,
Let
it's got to be the
and
tank.
train. Yeah, tank. All right. So, number 1, Aston Martin DB5. Number 2, Aston Martin V8 Vantage. Number 3, Little Nelly. Number 4, Lotus. 5 is the Tuk Tuk. 6 is the Croc Sub. 7 is the Mini Plane. 8 is the Moonraker boat. 9 is the Gondola. 10 is the Citroen. And 11 is that Moon Buggy from...
I think this goes third. I think the tank is so cool, man.
when
And
you
what I like is they do everything they can with it and then never come back to it in another film. I think it's just really well done.
I
And
think
the music and everything.
yeah, it has a really good scene to it.
And the fact it's happening in St. Petersburg as well. That's like
Yeah.
very cool, very
I
impressive.
think I don't think it's as good as Little Nelly though, because Little Nelly's like the mini And it has an amazing scene as well. Where
It has a very good scene itself, to be fair.
Yeah, it does, but I think it's
and James Bond does more spy work in it as well. So he like checks
Yeah.
out volcanoes.
yeah, but we're just talking about the vehicle really and what it does, its whole scene.
yeah,
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I would agree with Tom on this. I think
Okay,
the tank
okay.
is cool. Is not as cool as Little Nelly,
Fair
Uh,
enough.
the gyrocopter of all time. Tank goes below Little Nelly and above the Lotus. Is that amicable?
Yep, fine.
Mhm.
Right.
I'm not like, I'm not going to die on that hill. Yeah.
I think this is probably going to be a very interesting ranking actually. Now, M. Robert Brown.
Judi Dench has got to go number one, right?
Not immediately, I think. I think
Not
that
immediately, but eventually she will.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
yeah.
know.
For now, she's probably second, but I think she will easily end up as number one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's
I think even for now, maybe even third actually, because of License to Kill
Yeah,
and Living Daylights. I mean, Rob Brown's pretty cool in those films, isn't he? So,
yeah.
I
I
think
think
like
Robert Brown has to really dress down 007 a couple times. So
yeah.
I think the thing that Bernard Lee suffers from is that like he was like kind of like an overseer of Bond,
Yeah,
more
yeah,
like
he's
he
part of the
didn't
furniture.
they didn't like expect or make him do anything like
yeah.
and
Well, that's
and
fine. It's just
Bernard Lee is like he's probably who you imagine as M. It's like between him and Judi Dench, really. I think.
I think Bernard is kind of the most realistic, especially for his time. He's just like literally just a civil servant, isn't he? So um,
Yeah,
but
it's just
Judi Dench is obviously he's just very one-dimensional, whereas
yeah.
Judi Dench
Judi
is
Dench really brings like
exactly.
elevates the role of M to being a lot more
But we
important.
don't see him. We only see her in one scene, basically. So yeah, for
I
now.
think they pushed her like much harder than the other M's like
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they wanted to hammer home the point that she's like the woman M and
Yeah,
yeah
and they do that very well, of course.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, like getting Bond, someone like Bond to take orders from a woman takes a very a lot of like talent as an actress.
I think the biggest praise you can give her is the fact that even though they, between Die Another Day and GoldenEye, Casino Royale, they rebrand Bond entirely. She's the only survivor from that.
Yeah.
I think that is basically
a
the
testament,
praise you can give her, actually.
So currently, I mean, this is no slight on that.
Yeah.
Number one, Burnley. Number two, Robert Brown. Number three, Dame Judi Dench.
That's right.
So Q is still he's still
Yeah.
Desmond Llewellyn is holding out at number one, even though there's no one else to go here. Now, Moneypenny. Number one, Lois Maxwell. Number two, Caroline Bliss. Where does Samantha Bond go?
third.
Glad we can all agree on that. Do you reckon she got the job partially because of her name?
No.
Not really.
Yeah, it's just a convenient coincidence, you could say.
Hmm.
Now, ally / Felix Leiter. Number one, Draco and Campbell. Two, Tiger Tanaka.
Wait. Sorry, before you read out the list, who's the ally in this? Jack Wade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could
Shit.
you could say Valentine Sokovsky if you want.
Oh yeah.
We can include it, maybe.
No, we have to. Yeah, for sure.
All right, okay.
I knew
So-
there was someone I forgot. Yeah, good one.
All right, so one, Draco and Campbell. Two, Tiger Tanaka. Three, VJ. Four, Coral and Leiter. Five, Q and Sharky. Six, Columbo. Seven, Coral Jr., Leiter and Strutter. Eight, Karen Bay. Nine, Saunders, Pushkin, and Tibbet. No, not Tibbet. I made a typo. 10 is Tibbet. 11, Leiter from Never Say Never Again, and Rowan Atkinson's character. 12, General Gogol. 13, Leiter and Goldfinger. 14, Leiter and Thunderball. 15, Hip, and 16, Leiter and Diamonds Are Forever.
Hip. I think this Zukovsky goes like this is accounting for his role in the world's not enough as well.
Well, yeah, we'll get to re-review it after that, won't we?
Yeah. But I think I know where he'll end up.
I know. You know what we should do? We should separate them because they both come back in for one more film each. So let's separate them. So Jack Wade, I think, goes. I don't know.
Below Karen Bay, maybe.
Oh, yeah, well below him. Maybe like
Below Saunders and Pushkin.
Yeah.
Below Tibbet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Below Leiter from Never Say Never Again and Rowan Atkinson's character.
Yep.
Below Gogol.
No. That's where I draw the line. I don't like Gogol at all, man.
Gogol hating. Tom, what do you think?
I think he goes below Gogol because at least Gogol's like I don't know, likable.
Yeah, but at least Jack Wade kind of helps Bond a little bit. He does something useful, to be fair.
Yeah, I
He's-
mean, he's actually an ally in this, not the
he-
enemy all the time.
He's better in Tomorrow Never Dies, but this one's just like, nah. He like almost kills them when he's trying to help them. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I
He's
think
supposed-
it's this whole.
But that's his persona. He's just this bumbling kind
He's
of,
just exists
American
to make
guy.
fun
isn't
of
he?
America.
Yeah,
to
but
make sure
then-
everybody's getting
then-
along, so.
but then get like Sheriff J.W. Pepper. Do we even put Sheriff J.W. Pepper on the list?
I am shocked to say he is not on here.
Oh, what? How did we miss that?
I don't know, James. You're in charge of the list. so-
Yeah, shit. That's my fault. Well, we'll come back to that. But yeah, anyway, so Jack Wade, yeah, all right. Well, I say above Gogol. Some says below. What would you say, Henry? Let's drag this on to-
I really couldn't care less, honestly.
All right. Well,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Well, you just put him wherever you like then.
I'm gonna put him
And,
above Gogol just because I like, I like making fun of the US. So Jack
Yeah.
Wade,
That's a good
Jack
read.
Wade, below Rowan Atkinson and
Yep.
above General Gogol.
Yeah.
All right.
And then
so,
Valentin Zukovsky, where does he go?
it's a good question. Above Columbo, maybe. Above Q and Sharky.
No, below
Nah.
Sharky. Maybe below Columbo, and then he'll improve later, won't he? So.
Yeah. All right.
No.
All right. I'm just gonna put Valentine because
Yeah.
I don't know how to spell his second name. Right.
You could
so
put Hagrid
that's-
if you want.
Yeah, Hagrid. Yeah, you're a spy, James. All right, so now moving on to the gadget. Number 1, the dart gun. Number 2, the Live and Let Die Rolex. Number 3,
Wait,
the
before you
attaché
read them
case.
out, we're just so we have in mind what we're ranking.
Oh yeah, of course.
Got to be the pen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that or the laser watch.
The
I
pen
think
is mightier than the
played-
sword. Thanks to me, they were right.
Yeah, I love that line. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, don't say it. Writing's on the wall. Great. Foreshadowing there. Anyway. Yeah, it
Yeah,
makes me wish I had
unfortunately,
that pen on me when that song came on. Anyway, so 1.
well, you know where you can insert it.
Yeah. 1, I know where Sam Smith would. 1, the dart gun. 2, the Live and Let Die Rolex. 3, the attaché case. 4, the sniper rifle. 5, the key ring, the stun gas one. 6, the cigarette gun. 7, the acid pen. 8, Odd Job's hat. 9, the ring camera. 10, the rebreather. 11, the Wolf PPK, and 12, the mouse trap.
I think
I
it goes.
really like this gadget, but I think I don't know. I really like the cigarette gun as well, so I think it's
Yeah.
going in there somewhere.
I think it goes below
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty.
I mean, but the scene it's in is like so good, like because like
true.
the
Sorry,
fact
what
that-
were the,
oh, yeah,
what were the
do
top?
you reckon this thing
What's
is?
above the cigarette gun?
Keyring, the stun gas one from Living Daylights.
Ooh. Oh, that's wrong.
Well, you
And what's
agreed
above
to-
that?
The sniper rifle from License to Kill. I think is partially because of the scene it's in.
What?
Yeah, but it's like it's also the fact that it's like it has.
Man, you guys really took advantage of me last week, man. I had
That's
like,
really. But think
I
about it,
wasn't
like that literally
focusing.
that was that had such a good thing, like the palm reading thing.
no.
that-
Well, yeah.
Sorry.
Well, all right. Well, I don't know. Where would you put it then, Henry?
It's really tough actually because the cigarette gun is a really good gadget
It's,
too.
it's like
Cigarette
the
gun should be
gadget.
higher up, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, okay. Out of respect for the cigarette gun, I'll put the exploding pen below it, which is actually also above another pen, the acid one. The exploding pen above the acid pen and below the cigarette gun. I mean, there's some
Okay.
great gadgets in there anyway. So
Yeah, true.
now the theme song. I mean, obviously we know what we're nominating.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
number 1 is On Her Majesty's Secret Service. 2, A View to a Kill. 3, the James Bond theme. 4, Live and Let Die. 5, License to Kill. 6, Living Daylight. 7, Goldfinger. 8, You Only Live Twice. 9, The Man with the Golden Gun. 10, For Your Eyes Only. 11, Never Say Never Again. 12, Thunderball. 13, Nobody Does It Better. 14, Moonraker. 15, Diamonds Are Forever. 16, From Russia with Love. 17, All Time High. So where does
Did you say Live and Let Die is third?
Live and Let Die is 4th.
Fourth. I put it above Live and Let Die.
Really?
I think below that.
I'd put it below like maybe Goldfinger.
Oh yeah. Good
Yeah,
point.
below.
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Yeah. Below Goldfinger then. That's fine. What's
Mm.
below Goldfinger?
You Only Live Twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might
spot.
consider putting it below You Only Live Twice actually.
No. I think that's about spot on.
What do you think, Tom?
Actually, I think You Only Live Twice because it's below You Only Live Twice because it's more. I think You Only Live Twice is a bit more iconic.
Yeah, I would agree too, because yeah, it's better.
Well, but
utilised
so what
throughout
number
the
is it
film.
then?
Ninth,
7th, 8th.
GoldenEye.
Wow. Okay. So Goldfinger is what, 7th?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
We've had some really
there are a
good
lot of good
ones in this-
songs.
Oh
in
yeah,
Bond.
that's true. Yeah, and well, after Pierce Brosnan, we do get some really, really good ones after that. So yeah.
What do you mean? I love Die Another Day. Anyway, right now the opening. This will be interesting. Number one
Ooh,
is
yeah.
Spy Who Loved Me. 2, Goldfinger. 3, Octopussy. 4, Moonraker. 5, The Living Daylights. 6, View to Kill. 7, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. 8, The Man with the Golden Gun. 9, From Russia with Love. 10, License to Kill. 13, You Only Live Twice. 14, Thunderball. 15, Live and Let Die. 16, For Your Eyes Only. 17, Diamonds Are Forever. Where are we putting
Probably
GoldenEye?
above. What's above the Living Daylights?
Moonraker.
Yeah, I put it there.
Yeah, that's fair. Actually, I'd agree.
I think so. Yeah.
Nice.
GoldenEye.
I like it when we're all in agreement. It doesn't
Yeah,
happen
it
often.
makes things so much easier.
Yeah.
The Sigma moment. Now, how does this? Because I think this is like going back to Sean Connery. This is more of an Alpha Bond, honestly.
Yeah, there aren't really. What is Sigma moment? Maybe when Romanov kills his own soldier or something like that.
I think Boris is fairly Sigma when he's like talking about. He's
No,
like,
I don't know.
He's
like-
kind of a bait man. He wants to smash people.
it's funny how he like tries to have like some
I
coding,
know the scene.
coding riz.
It's Natalia when she's like getting into that computer shop.
Yeah, actually, you could.
I
put-
like
it's
her,
like,
man.
I'm imagining you could put like the music over it. That would work.
She's a Sigma female, actually. Now that I think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I
Alright.
like is you see her story. You see her whole story from like a normal person to like,
Yeah, her origin story, man.
very
If it-
believable. Yeah, she's the Sigma.
I think that's a fair nomination. The only other thing I
Or
would have maybe
veteran.
put was Bond saying, "Oh yeah, I wouldn't know because he doesn't care." Anyway,
Mm.
but that's not really that good.
But that's just
So-
that's
And
pretty
that-
good actually. But yeah,
But it's all. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's coping, unlike King and Country. Anyway, so allow me to read these out. 1, Goldfinger, I own the club. 2, yeah, a convenient coincidence. 3, backgammon in Octopussy. 4, you missed Mr. Bond. Did I?
did I?
5, Red Grant. 6, Blofeld's Extortion. 7, Doctor No. 8, Timothy Dalton's Bond / Necros, I think we put. 9, I Need You, James. So does England. 10, Launder It. 11, Tracy's already a countess. 12, Mr. Fat has resigned. I'm the new chairman of the board. 13 is Eric. 14 is Blofeld propelling a battle submarine. 15 is David Niven. 16, Names for Tombstones, baby. 17 for King Country. And 18, Hugh from Never Say Never Again.
I love that we put David Niven in there. It just reminds me of like
Yeah.
that
John-
Scotland, like the bathtub scene, all that shit, man.
Oh,
I
man.
can't believe I watched that for the sake of The Rock, which will be worth it because we're doing that next
Yeah.
week. I'd put Natalia above Blofeld Extortion.
I think she goes just wait. What's the specific line though?
There isn't one.
Well, actually, it's
maybe,
like, yeah,
everything
it's everything
apart from the
satisfactory,
interruptions, I
everything except the interruption.
Yeah.
I think so. And I think that goes just below Launder It because that's a really good line. It's
Yeah,
like,
but Launder It is currently 10th, and Bloodford's Extortion is 6th.
yeah, I know we kind of
So where would you
messed
put
up
it,
with it.
Henry? You have the casting vote, really.
I
Henry?
think I'll put it above Launder It.
Yeah,
And actually, no, I'll put it below Launder It, actually.
yeah.
Because, like, laundering money is just, like, a Sigma activity.
True.
Also, literally, after, like, getting this guy's, like, brains, like, splat all over this money. Right, so, yeah.
What I like
Yeah.
about her, just to finish on Natalia as well, what I like is she never really falls in love with Bond or anything. She's very like, yeah, she kind of doesn't use him, but like she's not. I don't get the feeling that she gets attached to him like all the others do. She's not like
Yeah.
she's actually being very real with him. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, I like you and stuff, but like
Yeah.
she gives him some like life advice basically. Which is
Yeah, I also
good
love the bit at the end specifically. Is like, I'm not getting this helicopter with you, man. You and vehicles.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've listed this down. It's below Laundrette, and above Tracy is already a Countess, and it's been listed as Natalia versus Computer Salesman. So the final ranking, which I think will be quite interesting.
Yeah.
The film. 1 On Her Majesty's Secret Service, 2 Goldfinger, 3 Octopussy, 4 License to Kill, 5 Moonraker, 6 The Living Daylights, 7 The Spy Who Loved Me, 8 You Only Live Twice, 9 A View to a Kill, 10 The Man with the Golden Gun, 11 Live and Let Die, 12 Doctor No, 14 From Russia with Love, no, 13 From Russia with Love, 14 Thunderball, 15 Never Say Never Again, 16 For Your Eyes Only, 17 Diamonds Are Forever, 18 Casino Royale.
We should really.
Where does GoldenEye go on this?
Can't believe he
I'm, like,
snuck
running out of
License to Kill at 4th, man. I want to throw up.
I don't think that's as bad
problem.
as the. I don't think that's as bad as From Russia with Love being at the great.
Yeah, that is criminal.
No, that's fair. I'm happy with that.
I can't believe you two put Dr. No above From Russia with Love.
Yeah,
Like,
but-
you're actually like brain dead.
You should have like worked with me. Like we could have pushed both of them up the list. Like, but
Nah, I really don't think they belong very high up any Bond list, honestly.
I think so. I think they do. They're
Man,
very.
License to Kill, man, it pushed Bond forward in terms of like ratings, just so they could get more like good stuff in.
That's true. Well, anyway, I
It did
think
what all the others were too
I would put
afraid to.
GoldenEye above License to Kill, but then again, I wouldn't put it 4th.
You
So where
wouldn't
would
put
you
it
two
above
put it?
Moonraker, would you?
I'd put it around.
I don't know.
I'd put it either above or below. Either put it below Leon Live Twice or below A View to a
You'd say
Kill,
that, yeah.
or below A View to
So
a
it's
Kill.
worse than Spy Love Me, you think?
Ooh, I don't like Spy Love Me. I'm just ignoring the fact that's like 5th in my.
So where would you put it, Henry? This list is all over the place now, isn't it?
Is it better than Spy Love Me? Is my main question. Is it better than You Only Live Twice?
Nah.
think-
You Only Live Twice has.
The soundtrack of this film really fucking sucks. That's the problem. Like, it's one of the main things holding me back from watching it.
Yeah,
And
but the
like,
individual characters are really good.
I know,
That's
but
the thing.
this has 3 massive problems. Xenia, which means I can't watch it with anyone.
Yeah.
The soundtrack and the dialogue.
Yeah, but then you look at all the
Yeah.
characters like Boris, Ruminov, 006, Natalia, Robbie Coltrane. They're all pretty like
I know that's the thing.
Judi
that's why I'm
Dench.
conflicted.
You know, they're all like
That's why I'm conflicted. Yeah, but Judi
Yeah.
Dench's end doesn't get to shine so
But
much in this
it's-
as she does in later ones.
The thing
they're
is,
still
with you,
introduced.
I think it's like View to
The
a Kill.
action's good. I'm
It's-
trying to think the positives.
Yeah, no,
But again, I don't really know. I don't know if I'd put it above The Spy Love Me
It's a
either.
mixed bag. I think like the thing is with You Only Live Twice, it's kind of the opposite. So like I think it's got the best Bond in it, and I think it's got like a really good Blofeld portrayal, and it's got excellent music, excellent like set design, good writing of like jokes and stuff, and like
yeah, I would
Um,
agree with you, Tom. I would actually put it below You and Live Twice and above View to a Kill. I think GoldenEye fans are gonna like lynch me, but you know,
I think it's very much like A View to a Kill. It's a big mixed bag.
Yeah, I'd probably have it slightly higher, but yeah, it would be in that region anyway.
yeah, this is also
Although I would say
definitely-
I don't know. I did quite like License to Kill though. I mean, GoldenEye's a really weird film, isn't it? It's just it's very hit and miss.
it's a
It's
shame.
good, but it's
I
got really
really
obvious
want-
problems. That's the thing.
It's a shame because it has so
Yeah.
much potential. I mean, it is already great, but it's held back by a lot of things. I mean, I don't know if like people love this film, generally speaking. I wonder if it's something to do with the fact that
It's probably the video game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it must be Memories of the Video Game too.
So
And it's
wait,
like-
so just read out to me that sort of area between Spy Love Me and You Only Live Twice.
Okay, so it's the Spy. Okay, 6 Living Daylight, 7 The Spy Who Loved Me, 8 You and Live Twice, currently 9 GoldenEye, and then 10 A View to a Kill, 11 Man with the Golden Gun. You know, that sort of vision.
I'd probably just push GoldenEye above You Only Live Twice for me, but I think I'm outnumbered, so you know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I have to. I've been pushing You and Live Twice down too much over these last.
Yeah, I think that's about right. I mean, all of those films. I think anything below Goldfinger and above, you know, I don't know. Oh, what's below You Only Live Twice?
A View to a Kill. Well, GoldenEye now. A View to a
And what's
Kill.
below View to a Kill? Sorry.
Mother Golden Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everywhere between in our list right now, third and A View to Kill, and sorry, The Man with the Golden Gun, are like they're all good Bond films. You know, they can
Yeah.
really. I could pretty much shuffle them in any sort of order, and they'd be more or less. I'd be more or less happy with them.
Yeah, as well. I think
you know.
another thing. I think one of the main things that kind of hurts GoldenEye a little bit is the fact that it hasn't like aged terribly. It just hasn't aged as well as other Bond films, I think, because of its over
Yeah.
like in certain ways.
Definitely.
No, I'm not talking about like effects or anything. I'm thinking like somewhat plot wise and somewhat Bond's relationship with women, because it's like it's stuck in a really weird like valley almost, where it's like they're trying to be like more
They're trying to keep it
progressive.
sexy, but also not.
Yeah, they're trying to
sexist.
they're trying to make it more progressive, but at the
Yes.
same time, like making him Sean Connery, and it doesn't work. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
You do get like the whole Marley Penny thing as well. It's like, this could
Yeah,
qualify
yeah,
as
yeah,
sexual
yeah.
yeah, it's like
harassment.
it's too on the nose. Like it's not like saying, oh yeah, Bond should like deal with women like he
Yeah,
does
they're trying to
Christopher
do a
Walken.
bit too much to kind of address that, aren't they?
It's trying too hard, but it's not really doing a good job of it either. So
Yeah. I think that's it. That actually does sum up Pierce Brosnan's Bond quite well. It's like sexy but not sexist. That's like the line they're trying to walk, isn't it?
yeah, and it's a very hard line to walk, as they find out. So that's okay. So
Okay,
we've
fair enough.
settled on that. Below you and the twice and above of you to kill. So, which feels strange to
Yeah.
say, but
It's about right. It's in that area, isn't it? Okay, well, that was GoldenEye. So thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week with The Rock, which Tom and Henry have never seen, and
yeah, Sean
I'm
Connery's
really,
final.
really looking forward to that review. I must
Yeah.
say. So
Not even Sean Connery's final performance as Bond since you've played From Russia with Love on the PS Vita, like I think you did, Tom.
Yeah, PS. Yeah, that's a great game. It's
Okay.
very
Yeah,
difficult.
because Sean
Actually.
Connery came back to voice himself in that game in 2005.
Yeah, oh, really? I didn't even know that. Like, I knew it was his voice, but I was like, I thought they used bits from the film. So
No, he actually voice recorded that. So
that's so cool. Like, should get
Yeah.
another PSP or whatever it was to like
yeah,
play
So-
it again.
okay, we'll continue that off camera. But for now, thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week with The Rock. Same bat time, same bat channel.